Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. A lot of news today. A lot of news today. But first and foremost, oh my God. Did you know that Fox News watches our stream, Adam?
Yes, I did know that.
You did know. Okay.
Religiously every day.
Right. Somebody.
They
So
have someone devoted to watching our stream and taking notes and sending them around the institution so that everyone knows what we're talking about and
as
saying.
they should.
Yes, of
As they should,
course.
obviously. Uh so it's very funny on Twitter, account Fast and Bulbous, he tweeted at me, he said, Sitch, Fox watched the stream and listened to you. And they linked this article. Now, this is a very interesting article. This came out yesterday. It said top Harris aides hypes radical activists who said America deserved 9/11 while plotting future for Dems with a big video compilation of our good friend Hasan Piker. Look at that.
Right. They've got a whiff of Hassan scent and they're like going to town, right?
Yes. Yes. Now on Sunday, I said, what's up with Fox News? What is
Yeah.
Fox News doing? Why is Fox News missing there's this delicious story right here, right in front of them. We
Free
have Hasan
money.
Piker, right? This crazy pro-terrorist socialist who keeps, he had an interview with Lena Khan, and I think he had someone else in the article they talk about that was involved with the administration was
Oh, so
promoting
sad.
him. And then, like, this is the perfect story to attack the left. How is Fox News missing this? And they heard. They said, oh, okay, Sitch. Thank you. We'll get on that. And they did.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is great. They're doing the Lord's work here now, finally.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks because, look, I like Lena Khan. I didn't want Lena Khan to get axed. So
Right, right.
it's sad that, yeah, she's
I
associating with Hassan and being sullied by his
I know.
fucking
I
evil
agree.
name.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think really what's the article, and I'll read some of the article. The article doesn't actually mention Lena Khan, but
Good. Oh, good. Maybe she'll
it's
escape.
yeah, she might escape that. But there was like this enraged me when I saw it. There was this CNN puff piece on Hassan. And it's so disgusting. It's because, there was this whole
Ooh,
conversation
I
that was
know. I
like,
saw that.
yeah, that like the left needs its Joe Rogan. Who
Right.
will be the left Joe Rogan? And
Mhm.
some
Joe
retards.
Rogan famously said America deserved 9/11. We all remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's like, please, for all the quote controversies that Joe Rogan has gotten, like none of them are even anywhere in the ballpark. They're not even playing the same sport. They're nowhere near close to any of the
Yeah.
crazy shit that Hassan has said or done
Joe
whatsoever.
Rogan famously came out after October 7th and was complimenting all of the people that were saying Israel deserved it.
Yeah. Right.
That typical Joe Rogan, right?
Typical Joe. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, CNN, somehow this like narrative sparks. And I don't know if it's that CNN, they have like a bunch of young, activist
Idiots is the
socialist
word you're
retards.
looking for.
Yeah, who probably work at CNN. They're like, oh, you should look at this Hassan guy. He's a big streamer on the left. And these dumb middle-aged retarded hosts or producers at CNN, they don't know, right?
They
They're like,
don't.
oh, I'm
No,
just gonna
they
listen to
don't.
the young kids. The kids know what's up. Let me listen to them. Right? They do zero fact checking, and they're like, oh, Hassan, this progressive Democrat. Like, oh, really? This is the guy you're gonna call
He
progressive?
got kicked out of the DNC.
I know. It's so ridiculous.
That's
Okay.
hilarious.
So let me read some of this article, and then we're going to watch this clip compilation that Fox put up, which is pretty hilarious. A top aide on Vice President Harris's failed presidential campaign.
Oh, I
You
love
like
that
you
sound.
like
I
that?
love the sound of that. Yeah.
Fox News is really trying to
Failed.
hone in there. Recently called for more cultural voices like the vocal anti-America and anti-Israel Twitch star Hasan Piker, who previously faced backlash for saying that America deserved
Oh, look
9/11.
at that. Right up front. Perfect.
Right up front. Harris's former deputy campaign manager, Rob Flaherty, said during a recent interview that Democrats are losing hold of the culture and laid out a strategy for them to develop a whole thriving system ahead of future elections. Quote, we need a whole thriving ecosystem. It's not just Pod Save America, though I think we should have more of them. It's not just Hasan Piker. We should have more Hasan Pikers. It's also the cultural creators, the folks who are one rung out, who influence nonpartisan audiences. Those things all need to happen together.
Mm.
So it's so, I hate these people. So you have this Rob guy, okay, you know, obviously some boomer. He's looks like he's in his like, 40s or something, or his 50s. I don't think he knows anything about Hasan Piker at all. He just saw that he was on Pod Save America. Maybe he heard him on Pod Save America and was like, "Oh, he sounds like a reasonable fellow. He's got a large following," and he just goes out there and promotes them. And it's despicable. It's disgusting. CNN, Pod Save America, all anything that's like remotely close to the mainstream, anything that whitewashes Hasan's reputation, these people are despicable and disgusting and highly
Will
immoral.
will it catch up with him? Will it catch up with him? That's the question.
I think if Hasan starts to get lifted up, and maybe Hasan knows this because he was kind of gun shy in the CNN thing about being the quote Joe Rogan. If there actually is some kind of mainstream push for him, the more his name goes out there, it's like the Andrew Tate thing. Like Andrew Tate, no one knew about him, but then all of a sudden, when he like explodes in popularity, just like a million articles written about him, investigating him, like, oh my god, he did all this crazy shit. He's like on Hinge, he's a criminal, blah 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 blah. It's the same thing I think with Hasan. Is that there's like the more he enters into the mainstream, like the more eyeballs start to look at him, and the more it would be within the benefit of Fox News or other right wing publications to really start actually actively going after him and associating him with the left with all the crazy stuff he's done. And I don't think he's said and done way too many things that are all recorded, that are all on live stream, that the Democrats and the left as a whole would not want to be associated with him if they start to get like broad eyeballs on them.
He's big, but he's not Joe Rogan big, right?
No.
Maybe he's a tenth of the size of Joe Rogan. Maybe he's a hundredth the size of Joe Rogan. I'm not sure. Joe Rogan is like a phenomenon, right? So it's interesting because a part of me, is mortified by the fact that someone who could say America deserved 9/11, who could actively endorse other fucking terrorists, like he literally had a terrorist on his podcast or on his live stream.
Right.
Someone like that, it's scary to me that they can gain this huge Hasan like following. But another part of me thinks, well, he's not Joe Rogan. And if Joe Rogan came out and did these things, it's hard for me to imagine Joe Rogan would be Joe Rogan, right? Like, how could Joe Rogan amass the audience that he's amassed doing the kinds of things that Hasan has done?
He couldn't.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's possible. Yeah. So sooner or later, Hasan is going to want to do the pivot, right? So he can blow up to the size of Joe Rogan. But I'm always thinking, maybe you've done too much, right? Like
Yes.
nobody wants to see you blow up to the size of Joe Rogan. And it's a lot of the attacks on Joe Rogan are obviously fictitious. They're made up. They're completely out of context stuff because people do instinctively want to go after people who they perceive are going to be a political rival, that are getting a huge audience, getting a lot of influence. They're like, we want to take that guy down a peg. Let's start looking, what can we get on him, right?
Right.
And with Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, there's not a lot of there. So they have to start making shit up, right? But with
Yeah.
Hasan, oh, there's a lot of there. There is a ton of there.
Uh-huh.
So I just think, oh, look, you don't have to make anything up. Look, here he is just saying America deserved 9/11.
Right. Right. Well, with Joe Rogan, it's mostly like, oh, you platform someone who said something that,
Which is the ultimate made up
right.
fucking shit.
I understand. But it's really more along those lines as opposed to like he literally said something unhinged or crazy or whatever, like the way
Right.
that Hassan has. So let me continue the article. Now the article has the greatest hits here. It says during a 2019 live stream, Piker praised the brave fucking soldier who wounded conservative U.S. Rep Dan Crenshaw while he was deployed to Afghanistan, asking, quote, didn't he go to war and like literally lose his eye because some Muhajidim, a brave fucking soldier, fucked his eye hole with their dick?
Did he really say the dick thing?
He did say that, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He went on to say America deserved 9/11, before later walking it back and saying it was inappropriate. However, in another stream later this year, Hasan Piker joked about 9/11 again, saying, oh my God, 9/11 2 is going to be so sick, and give Saudi Arabia a nuke so they can do 9/11 2. I don't know. I don't think I saw that clip. I don't know what that's in reference to. In another stream, Hasan Piker broadcast propaganda from the Houthis, an Iranian-backed group in Yemen that has been designated by the U.S. as a terrorist group, Instead of explicitly addressing the materials as questionable propaganda, the streamer instead expressed sympathy and admiration for the group. Quote, they do musicals about like their fucking actions all the time, Piker said on Terrorist Propaganda. They love walking all over the like America flag and the Israeli flag side by side. Then he said, quote, it doesn't matter if fucking rapes happened on October 7th, Piker said in a May
Ooh,
22nd
ouch.
stream. It doesn't change the dynamics of Palestinians and Israelis for me.
Oh my God.
During
He's
an
with the
April
rapists.
I know. During an April 18th stream, Piker also expressed that Hamas was the lesser evil next to the Israeli military. While Senator Ed McCary of Massachusetts, a Democrat, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others have been on Piker's platform, Democrat Representative Richie Torres of New York wrote a letter this year to top executives at Twitch and Amazon expressing alarm about the amplification of anti-Semitism on Twitch at the hands of Hasan Piker. Based
Wow.
Richie Torres. And also, I don't know if you saw this. I saw Richie Torres yesterday. He put out a tweet blasting someone. It says a CUNY professor. It's kind of ironic. That's, the name of the school is Cunny. Professor is teaching about the resilience of pedophiles, whom she emphatically describes as minor attracted people.
Wow.
Has the world completely lost its mind? So listen, I'm sorry, euphemistically, not emphatically. So Richie Torres is really gearing himself up, I think, to be the like anti-woke Democrat.
Yeah, he's running for president in 2028.
Right. So that's pretty base. So well, we're gonna watch the clip that Fox News has compiled. But I just want to say this to first of all, thank you, Fox News, for listening. Okay. You're not going to regret this. I just have one note. I have one note, one thing to add for your future articles on Hasan. I think you should do the think of the children angle. Because remember, it's not just that Hasan is the Joe Rogan of the left. Okay. He is promoting this to his audience, primarily children and young adults. The children, think of the children being fed this propaganda, this anti-American, Jew-hating propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Do a 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
I got to check the audio here real quick. Make sure it's on.
Check the audio.
Oh my God! Well, oh my God!
Seems to be working. Okay. Seems to be okay. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh my God!
Well, it cut out pretty quick on me there. What happened?
What happened?
Oh my God!
It doesn't seem to want to play.
Well,
oh really?
Yeah, it's just like pausing. I don't know what's going on. Left-wing Twitch star.
Oh my God!
Troubling. Oh, I guess because maybe I opened it up in the watch together. That's the problem.
Oh yeah, no. Get rid of the watch. Don't watch it in the watch together. Watch it on their site.
Okay.
Because the watch together is all not going to work very well.
Yeah. Okay. Let me bring that up.
Okay. Let's talk about prepping for $20. Thank you so much. Says Jeff of Legal Vices passed away unexpectedly this weekend. We were trying to get his 87,000 channel to 100K so his family can receive his plaque. They didn't know about his channel till now. Rip, Jeff, you were a good one. Well, it's great. Yeah, everyone subscribe to Legal Vices, definitely, so that his family can get a plaque. That is definitely a nice thing to do. I'll make sure I do that too.
Oh my God! Well, Hezbollah is a terrorist.
Put a link to the channel in the chat. That'd be a kind thing to do. Okay.
All right, I think I got it now.
You got it? All right.
Let's try it. Let's try this again. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
This organization, dog. If Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, America is the top terrorist organization, which it is, by the way. America is the top dog in terrorism, and so is Israel. It doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people that can't contend with. Like, no, Hamas unironically is the lesser evil of the two. If you look at the civilian casualties, if you look at the civilian deaths versus the deaths of soldiers, Hamas's percentages are infinitely better than Israel. That's just facts.
He's the leader of Hezbollah, the general secretary of Hezbollah.
What's Hezbollah?
Hezbollah
is that small guy?
Hezbollah is this is the same name.
Okay.
Hezbollah is a paramilitary organization that is also a part of the Lebanese parliament.
Do we like them or no?
I think as a resistance group, they're pretty successful against Israel. But everybody hates them. Like everybody in the region, a lot of people don't like them. Like
I like what you like.
I don't have an issue with them. Let's just say they're Shia.
Does he know what One Piece is?
أول شيء بقول لك إنه ممكن هذا السؤال يكون شوي أهبل بس بسألك تعرف شو هو ون بيس؟ عمرك سمعت بون بيس؟
أكيد يعني منذ الطفولة وأنا أشاهد ون بيس لوفي.
Luffy?
Yeah, he said he's been watching it since he was a kid.
No way!
Yeah.
That's sick. Yes. That's fire. That's so fire. Oh my God. We think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that. They do musicals about like their actions all the time. And they love walking over. They love walking over like the American flag and the Israeli flag side by side. They will always like march on it. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. He's saying they do not care about the heavy missiles. Like they will literally take the war to them no matter what. It's an act of for them it's an act of resistance.
They're streaming this?
Yeah, they're flexing.
What? And they're coming in hot with guns.
Yeah, but you have to understand this is a deterrence, right? So like their goal is to film it and show it to the world, so like other companies that don't want to risk having this happen to their product, having this happen to their ships, literally are like, okay, we're not going to use the trade route anymore. All of a sudden, if you don't use the trade route, trade gets more expensive for the West. All of a sudden, if you can't use that trade route, the Israeli port is going to get bankrupt. I'm not Palestinian. I don't live in Gaza. I can't speak on, I guess, like the broader analysis beyond the fact that I don't feel comfortable placing the blame of a violent settler colony that has killed and displaced tens of millions of Palestinians. I don't feel like it's appropriate to lay the blame in the hands of anyone that is resisting against their own brutal occupation.
They didn't deserve it, you idiot. My goal is solutions. Your goal is the continuation of violence. You want way more than 260 people dying. You want every single Palestinian to be executed ruthlessly in the streets so that you can build another theme park in Gaza. You baying pig. You bloodthirsty, violent pig dog.
Wow. Okay. Pig dog. Oof.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Who's he talking about there?
Some chatter.
Okay. So we'll see how this story develops, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So good job, Fox News. Thank you for listening to us. We're going to listen. Maybe it's too early to say it, but the walls are closing in at him.
On Hasan?
I don't know. You've never heard that, right? The walls are closing in.
I definitely cannot see him as the next Joe Rogan.
Right.
I mean, no matter how hard they try. Oh my God. I guess they're going to have to go to Vosh, right? They're going to have to go to the B team. I can't wait to see the Fox News article on that one.
Well, no, it's interesting. I feel like they'd go if they're really searching. I mean, I feel like they'd have to go to Destiny, but then he's got his own, skeletons in his closet too.
Destiny, huh? Oh yeah.
No, I mean, none of this is going to work out very well if they keep, searching for this. Maybe they'll go to that. You know who they could go to? Well, I guess he doesn't. Does he do interviews? The what's that? The Brian Tyler Cohen guy.
Oh yeah, he seems pretty squeaky clean, right?
Yeah, I mean, he just says propaganda. He's probably
he has
safe. So.
Massive TDS, but
right. But in terms of I don't think he's ever, not to my knowledge, he's never supported terrorism openly.
Right.
So should be okay.
He's very popular too, so
Right.
we'll
Okay.
see.
Okay. So I guess next, is there anything else you want to talk about that?
No, this is great.
Okay.
Can't
So
wait for the
obviously,
next one.
right. So the next story that we can talk about is very obviously yesterday, very tragically, there was a shooting that occurred at the Abundant Life Christian School.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I believe 3 people, including the shooter, died. One was a shooter, obviously. One was a teacher, and one was a student, and 6 other people were injured. Earlier reporting said that 2 are in critical condition, but I believe they're stable now, and that the others have been released. So that's good. There was a lot of like weird information, misinformation, mistakes that were made about this, which is, I guess, why I want to talk about it today. About like the identity of the shooter and what their motivations were originally. And I don't know how this exactly started. It originally there was like a lot of people that thought that the shooter was trans. Now maybe this was just because it was a female shooter, and that's very, very rare,
Right.
especially in these mass shooting instances, for it to be a female shooter. I believe since Columbine involved this sort of mass shooting like this, only 4% have been female. So that's why, it's obviously a very rare occurrence. So people maybe thought that this was a trans individual when they are not. They're a woman. They were born or they're a girl. They were born girl. So, though, I guess in a very strange, like weird thing, the person the person's name is Natalie Lynn Rupnow, and they were going by the name Samantha for some reason. By just weird Natalie Lynn. Obviously, ContraPoints' name is Natalie Wynn, so I don't know. That's a very unusual coincidence, but okay. And there was another weird thing, which was there was like a fake manifesto from the shooter that was circulated online. I don't know if you saw this.
I have not heard anything about this story. I'm learning it from you right now
Oh,
as
okay.
we speak.
Yeah, there was a fake manifesto that I read on Twitter, and I thought it was real. It was like a page or two, and it sort of postulated that they were motivated by feminism, that they were a radical feminist who was like killing, wanted to kill men and thought that men were scum, and this was some sort of motivation for the shooting. And I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. But apparently that wasn't real. But now there's a new manifesto that we still don't know with 100% certainty whether this manifesto is real or not. I don't believe it's been confirmed. Though there's another weird wrinkle to the story, which is that supposedly this individual had an online boyfriend who they'd been in an online relationship for over a year, and they never met in person. Okay. But this person claiming to be their online boyfriend has given someone like a 6-page manifesto. And so I guess we'll find out with time whether this is a real manifesto or not. And that manifesto, I'm not going to read from it, but essentially it kind of reads like what's his name? Rorschach from Watchmen. A lot of disgust in society, disgust with her parents, an admiration for school shooters, like the Combine kids and everything, but not really a clear ideological motivation beyond just kind of a general disgust towards humanity.
So like a nihilistic worldview.
Yeah, yes, it's just a very, very negative worldview, very negative experiences with their parents, very negative experiences with their school, but not like a political thing, not some kind of political statement. So,
right, they attacked a Christian school.
yes, so this was at the Abundant Life Christian School, which they attended.
Okay, so they were attacking their school. They went to a Christian school.
Yes, but it was a school that they went to. Supposedly, it was a school that they went to. Obviously, all this information could come out tomorrow. None of this is all true, and the person, who's claiming to be a boyfriend is lying and all this stuff. But as of now, they're claiming that that they went to the school and all this.
And this happened yesterday or this morning?
This happened yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, another school shooter.
Yep.
Another round of ban the guns.
Yep.
Blame the video games.
And
Well, I guess now they want to blame the trans movement. That's why they always try to make them seem trans. So,
well, there was that one person who was trans that did the shooting, and then remember they kind of like hid the manifesto.
right, yeah.
So, but yeah, and then this person, they took their own life before, I believe, before the police even showed up. So,
right, suicide by cop.
no, before the police even showed up, they took their own life. So very cowardly.
But they were obviously planning on
right
taking their own life.
But we'll find out more information about this story in the coming days. So
that sucks. I mean, I'd like to make some jokes, but this it's like a terrible situation. So
yeah. There's gonna be the questions of how did they get the gun? The quote boyfriend is claiming that they got it from their father. So I guess that's gonna be
another one. Another parent gets nailed for their kid getting their gun.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see if any of that stuff is true about the boyfriend or the manifesto or any of this stuff. And just keep your eyes open to that any of this stuff, because take it with a grain of salt until the family, or the police comment on it. Okay.
So you want to talk about Aurora, Colorado?
Yeah, we could talk about it. This is kind of an interesting story. So, a lot of people were attacking TYT and others because they were drawing attention to the story. We all saw the video of this apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, where armed people were, getting money from people, doing a home invasion, harassing people. And there was this question about whether they were part of the gang Tren de Aragua, this Venezuelan gang. It's Venezuela, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
This Venezuelan gang, and the question about whether they were illegal immigrants and any of this stuff. And a lot of people on the left were attacking TYT, making this claim, this completely unfounded claim that they weren't part of this gang and that TYT was evil or wrong for reporting on the story, blah, 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 blah. And now we just have another story just came out today, okay? From these same apartments, okay? This is from the same apartments.
Can you imagine living there? Oh my God.
Right. I know, Jesus.
You're being basically terrorized.
Right. It's called The Edge at Lowry Apartments, which, first of all, I don't know if you'd want to stay at a place called The Edge. That doesn't sound...
You're living on the edge, right?
Yeah, that sounds like it's not a good place to live. So here's another Fox article about it. It says police in Aurora, Colorado say the overnight armed home invasion at a local apartment complex that resulted in 14 suspects being detained was, quote, without question, a gang incident. Just before 2:30 a.m. on Tuesday, police were called to the Edge at Lowry Apartments, the same place that we saw the video. And they said that 13 to 15 people, mostly males, some females, entered apartment with 2 people were inside, and they took 2 victims who were both migrants to another apartment at the same location and were threatened and bound, including one that was stabbed. That was in the hospital and being treated and expected to survive. So so again, you have a situation where victims who are migrants, now the article doesn't say whether they were legal or illegal, but migrants are being victimized by people that are suspected to be in a criminal gang of, illegal immigrants.
So that sucks.
Yes. The police chief said, quote, "This is without a question a gang incident. I don't know which gang they're affiliated with yet," he added. "There's a high assumption that they may be affiliated with Tren de Aragua gang. But he stopped short of declaring which gang in particular was involved because he could not be certain at this time. They were pistol whipped, they were beaten, they were mistreated. So does that fall in the category of torture for me? Yes, it does," the police chief said.
Of course.
So just
terrorized.
keep pretending that these stories are not going on.
No, I think the pretending is over, right? That's what was happened with the election.
Right.
The pretending is over.
Now, here's a story that you'll like, Adam. Trump says he'll end daylight savings time.
I know.
Finally. You've been a big fan of this, right? Of ending
Well,
savings
actually,
time.
I'm for permanent daylight savings time. So,
okay.
yeah.
So
Other people have come out and said
Mhm.
going permanent. Like right now, we have 3 months of the year is on daylight savings time, and
No,
9
is it
months.
3 months are normal and the rest are daylight savings time?
Yeah, I got it backwards. Yes, 3 months of the year are standard time, our normal time, and 9 months of the year is daylight savings time. So people obviously are thinking, well, why are we going to switch the whole year to the place that we only use normal time 3 months out of the year, right? That's like a big change. Like a smaller change would be just go permanent daylight savings time, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the 3 months of the year that we switch to normal time, just keep it on daylight savings. People seem to like it better. And I did see that Nate Silver did some math saying that eliminating daylight savings would actually cost us a lot of daylight.
Right.
So, but I think going to permanent daylight savings would be the better scenario. So, but hopefully Trump gets a memo and does that. Trump seems, I'm not sure he's attached to getting rid of daylight savings.
Well, here's the question. If Trump gets rid of daylight savings, are you going to go out hard against him? Are you going to say, this is it? This is the moment? Trump has gone too far. He's gotten rid of daylight savings.
It would be, I got to admit, it would be a big change in everybody's life, because think of it. You'd be an hour different. There would be a huge difference. Like in the summertime in California, it tends to get dark around 8:30 or 9, right?
Right.
Well, it would get dark around 7:30 or 8. Like it being light at 9 p.m. would just not be a thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That would never happen again. When it happens for 3 months out of the year every summer. So, I mean, that's a big change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a giant change. So I think obviously and he might have misspoke. A lot of times people say getting rid of daylight savings. They just mean getting rid of changing the clocks. They don't necessarily think, well, do you want permanent daylight savings or do you want permanent standard time?
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? He may have met permanent daylight savings. We'll see.
Well, you're in luck because according to this article, it's unclear if Trump, whose team did not yet respond to a request for comment, favors making daylight saving times permanent or keeping the country in standard time. So we don't actually know yet what the plan is here. But this is a positive note for you. In 2022, Senator Marco Rubio, who Trump has nominated to lead the State Department, co-sponsored the Sunshine Protection Act, a now stalled bipartisan bill that would have made daylight savings time permanent.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be, more in favor of the solution that you would want.
The last change to daylight savings, I think, was made because all the candy manufacturers wanted daylight savings to extend past Halloween so that more people could trick or treat and buy candy, obviously. So daylight savings used to be before Halloween. The clocks would switch before Halloween and we would go, I guess we're on standard time now. So
yeah,
in order to keep it dark later during Halloween, they were like, let's just stretch out daylight savings. And now, like, that's why now it's literally like we're on it for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I think it used to be more 50-50, but
it does seem kind of insane. Yeah. Like 3 months we're on this stupid quote standard time. Like just get rid of it. Just get rid of standard time. It's useless. It's pointless.
Make daylight savings the standard time.
I get it. It sucks for people that are up, in the morning to commute to work or for kids to take the bus to school. Like I get it. But
I don't mind. And I get up early, so.
There you go. But everyone else, listen, it's nice to have the sun go down super late at night. Okay.
Yeah, it's so weird because now it gets dark so early, and it would be getting dark an hour later if we were just on daylight savings time now.
Yeah.
Right?
Now
So stupid.
there's an interesting, in this article I found on it was very interesting. There's some claims. They say that when daylight savings time is on, the SP 500 does better. It says during daylight savings time for the last 20 years, the SP 500 has gained 7.5% on average and only 2% for the rest of the year. But as they even talk about, that seems to me to be like a correlation causation error. I don't know if you should think that the light itself has any effect on the stock market specifically. It could just be like, because don't the companies do a lot of offloading and stuff in the winter months anyway, at the end of the year?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then this seemed kind of bonkers to me too, and I'm skeptical, and I'd want to read the science on this. Apparently, there's a bunch of medical groups that are claiming that if you did permanent daylight savings time, it would cause a bunch of health problems. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There was, let's see, was medical groups like the American Medical Association and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine say standard time better aligns with our circadian rhythm. An update analysis from Kimura Economics and analyst estimated that the annual economic cost of daylight savings time is $672 million, including $375 million due to increased heart attacks and $252 million from more strokes. Now, I don't know if that means the changeover causes that or just existing in daylight savings time. I can't imagine why simply existing in daylight savings times would cause people more heart attacks. Doesn't really make any sense to me.
Could be because of the time switch. Every time we do change the clocks, I always tweet out that millions of people die because of this. And if you're in favor of it, you're like a murderer because you want this. Just that's how much I hate it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the last one that I tweeted out was about deer evidently getting slaughtered on the roadways. And humans die too, because so the deer, obviously, they have their rhythms when it's safe to cross the road, right? And then the hour change comes and everyone's going to work when they're crossing the road. So a bunch of deer get killed and a bunch of people get killed trying to avoid the deer. So
why can't they just put big clocks on the side of the road so the deer can see what time it is?
I've been saying that. Why not?
Get like a deer crosswalk, so that like a little deer overpass.
Think of all the economic activity for building those clocks and teaching the deer to read the clocks. I mean, that would be great.
Yes. Listen, we need to have a can-do attitude. What is the literacy rate of deer in this country? Okay, compared to the rest of the world. These are the real questions we need at the bottom of.
Look, if we go to permanent daylight savings and Trump is responsible for it, I think all is forgiven for January 6th. I think that is where I draw the line.
There it is. You're like, if we get permanent daylight savings times, you could do whatever. It's all forgiven.
Well, look, I'm not January 6th part 2. I'm not in favor of. So I'm just saying, like the past one. I'm not saying you can do it again.
Now, it's interesting. So I clicked on the actual report. The article makes it sound like that the report was saying that the people dying of heart attacks and strokes and all this other stuff, they make it sound like it's just existing daylight savings times. But when I actually click on the report, they're saying that it's the change. They're blaming the change causes the increase in strokes and heart attacks.
Yeah, that's what happens because people are in a normal rhythm, right? Now they got to get up an hour early. There's massive amounts of more car accidents, especially when they change them and people lose an hour of sleep. There's like more sleepy drivers. It's terrible.
The traffic accidents, I feel like you could you could calculate that. That would make sense. I don't really know how you could calculate
heart attacks
caused by that, but I guess they're just saying, well, we just see an uptick in heart attacks around the time period. So that's just, the assumption.
Yeah. An abnormal uptick. So they blame it. I'm down if they want to blame it.
Okay.
So I guess I was incorrect. It's not 3 months. It's closer to 4 months. So
okay.
The November 3rd, I think, is when we started this year.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually March 10th is when we started and then ended on November 3rd. So if you've got the beginning of March to the beginning of November, you've got 4 months.
Okay. Whatever. Close enough.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
But it's still 2/3 of the year is in daylight savings and 1/3 of the year is in standard time.
Get rid of it.
So it
That's
would be
what
a
I say.
much bigger change
Right.
to change 2/3 of the year to a completely different time scale.
Mhm.
And look, during winter time, I feel like people are knuckled under and are like, fuck this time thing. And as soon as they get back to daylight savings comes in early March and you're like, yes. Oh, thank God. We made it. The dark time is over.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, I only notice usually when it's like, oh, I have an extra hour of sleep that night.
Right.
Beyond that, I mean, I guess I do notice that, like, oh my God, it's so dark so early. And that is annoying. That is like obnoxious.
God, it seemed like yesterday. I was like, holy shit, it's like 4 p.m. and it already feels like it's getting dark.
Yeah.
4 p.m.
Well, I mean, that's what's kind of weird because it gets darker in winter months anyway.
It does, yeah, but 4 p.m.
So you get that gets exacerbated by going back to standard time.
Right.
Okay. Another story that we want to talk today about was, so Trump had a press conference yesterday.
Sunset in Los Angeles is at 4:46 p.m.
What? Today?
4:46 p.m. Yeah.
4:46.
Sunset time in Los Angeles today.
That's
crazy. Not even 5 p.m. Not even 5 fucking p.m. Look, and if we were on daylight savings right now, that would be 5:46 p.m.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In Florida, it's 5:30, so we're like a whole hour behind you already.
Yeah, it depends where, obviously where you're located. So if you're located towards the end or the middle of the hourly sector, what do they call it? The time zone? Yeah. That's just fucked up.
Interesting.
I like the Daylight Protection Act.
That is a funny, that's what it was called.
Little Marco did us right.
He's protecting the daylight. Okay. He's protecting it from the evil communists.
He should.
Yes.
All right. So moving on.
Okay. So yesterday, Trump had a press conference. And in that press conference, he talked about lawsuits that he is engaged in. And so one of these lawsuits, now he said he's going to go after the media, right? And this kind of goes into the broader conversation that we had, or we have been having, and we will, I guess, find out as Trump is president, in terms of, are things going to go in the direction of revenge or unity? And Trump, one of the people that Trump said he's suing, because I think we talked about this on Sunday, did we? The ABC lawsuit, right? That ABC settled with Trump. Yeah, we talked about this. ABC settled with Trump because Greg, what's his name, Papadopoulos? Or that's not Stephanopoulos.
Right.
He said that Trump was found guilty of rape when he wasn't. He was found guilty of, in a civil case, of sexual abuse, I believe was the specific term. And so ABC settled with him with that. And so he's continuing going after people, including Ann Seltzer. So Ann Seltzer, we talked about this before the election. Ann Seltzer kind of came out with a poll in Iowa where she said, according to her polling data, that Harris was going to win the state of Iowa. This went against basically everyone else's polling in Iowa and in the country. And obviously, Donald Trump won the state of Iowa pretty handily, and her polling was found to be, well, retrospectively, found to be completely inaccurate. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I looked into that poll and I kind of liked her methodology, though, because she was saying pollsters, they tend to go back to the last election and look at who voted in the last election to kind of make their poll match the electorate from last time. And her idea was, well, different issues drive different elections. So you can't really go back to the old electorate and start there. You kind of have to think, well, what is driving this electorate, and kind of try to figure out what this electorate is, and then concoct a poll that polls those people. So I did think her methodology was super interesting and maybe useful. But look, I'm totally in favor of Trump suing the shit out of her, because she actually gave me Like, she made me think that Kamala Harris stood a chance of winning. So I looked at that poll and I thought, oh, well, this is probably going to happen.
You bought into
So,
it. You're like,
yeah.
okay, listen, this
Look,
makes sense to me.
and
right?
since I bought into the fake news, I'm like,
Right.
just get her. Go ahead.
Get her.
Take
Interesting.
her. Take her.
Okay. I like that.
Obviously, look, obviously I'm joking. I don't know the poll situation. Her methodology seemed interesting and unique to me. It wasn't like a big secret or anything. So I
Mhm.
don't know if they sue her and they are suing her basically for discovery. It's not like her methodology was like a secret or anything. So I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know
it's
if they get out
interesting.
of suing
So,
her.
because I found this article, and I'm going to go over the lawsuit in a second. This is before the lawsuit. This was a month ago, actually, exactly a month ago, November 17th. And this is from the Des Moines Register, and this is those people that published the poll. An update from the editor: what a review of the pre-election Iowa poll has found. Since election night, pollster Ann Seltzer has examined the pre-election Iowa poll methods and response samples for clues about why its results differed so widely from the actual results.
Fascinating. Okay.
And it says in the article that they have released, for transparency's sake, the poll questionnaire, the poll's full demographics, crosstabs, weighted and unweighted data, as well as a technical explanation from Seltzer detailing her review. So a month ago, they released all the data they had on the poll completely transparently to anyone that wants it. So that's
Yeah.
good, right?
Yeah, I watched an interview with her on the Two Ways podcast, and it was super interesting. Yeah.
Right. They did say in the review that they didn't find any one specific thing that jumped out as to like why it was messed up. Like they're saying that it could just be like they found like a bunch of little things maybe that they could all combine to kind of contribute to the poll being wrong together,
Mm-hmm.
but not one giant thing so far. So I guess the question is that in regards to the lawsuit, the question is, and you talked about this on Sunday. There's this concept of the push poll, and this is someone creating a poll where they're either using fake data or they're intentionally sort of manipulating data in such a way that they're trying to get the poll to persuade the public in one direction or another.
Right. And
So
you know this from psychology.
yes,
Obviously, people have this herd mentality, right? Oh, what's popular, right? I just want to do
right,
what everyone else is doing, right?
right, right. And there is actually, and it's funny because there's also a bias where when you contact people about who they voted for in past elections, I don't know, I forget what the number is, but there's some subset of people that will lie and they will just say that they voted for whoever the winner was because they want to seem like they're always on the winning side of things.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so now I agree that if there is an organization or a group that is doing this push polling, I I think that people like that should be gone after, especially if they're selling polls to groups that don't even know that they're doing this. So I guess that wouldn't really make sense. Presumably the group would want to do this. But I think that I don't know. I guess I don't know if it's illegal, but I do think it's definitely highly immoral and wrong for any organization or person to put out fake polling data to try to persuade the public in one direction or other. Right. And so if it was true, and now this is, to be clear, this is what Donald Trump is accusing Ann Seltzer of doing. He's accusing her of knowingly lying about information to create a fake poll maliciously in order to help the Harris campaign. That's the accusation.
Yeah. He thinks it's a push poll. Look, I'm
Yes.
sure Donald Trump knows all about push polls from his campaign staff. They
Sure.
probably complain about push polls all the time.
Right.
So
Now, so yeah, so if that was true, then yeah, I'd say, okay, I don't know if it's illegal to do that, but I think it's definitely wrong to do that. The problem is, what if it's not true? What if it's a person who just did a poll and they were just wrong? Can you sue someone for just putting out a wrong poll? And I would say, obviously not. That seems ridiculous on its face. If someone just makes a mistake in their polling, how can you sue them just because you won? Right? That doesn't make any sense.
yeah, this is a totally fucked up situation, obviously, I don't know if she's covered a lot of times they have insurance for these types of things in media organizations. So I don't know if the Des Moines Register is like, if she's covered by the Des Moines Register since it was some sort of commissioned poll.
Mhm.
Because Trump is suing both the Des Moines Register and
her specifically.
Yes.
Right.
So, and I don't, like I said, it would be one thing if they were suing for discovery purposes, right? Because you think maybe it's a push poll, maybe it's not a push poll, right? I don't necessarily know how they did this, but since all of her methodology is already out there, I mean, you can study the methodology and find out if it's a push poll or not, right?
Right.
I guess,
What's to discover? Yeah.
well, look, I guess they would argue that maybe she played with the data or something. Like, maybe she played with the data set. Maybe she changed the data set, which wouldn't necessarily be in her publishing her methodology. There's been some cases where they've gone after people in academia where the people have completely changed the data set to prove something or make some discovery that wasn't actually there. So,
right.
and it's obviously totally wrong, totally unethical, and they catch the people. So I don't know that that's the situation here. I hope it's not the situation. If it's not the situation, it really sucks because obviously she's going to be out a shitload of money unless the Des Moines Register is covering her legal expenses. Whenever you're sued, it's just, oh my God. Like, the first thing you have to do is you have to find an attorney and you have to put down like a $10,000 retainer or something.
Yeah.
So it is not fun. And especially if you're in a situation where you're just like a working stiff, which a lot of these people are, it's a nightmare. So yeah, obviously that fucking sucks. So I'm a little conflicted. I did listen to TYT's coverage of this. And while I am on the Ann Seltzer side, I mean, they kept saying the phrase, oh, this is going to have a chilling effect. And I'm thinking, oh my God, the media lies indiscriminately about everything. Like, the whole Fine People hoax was on CNN every 5 minutes for like 5 years. I think it's actually time for there to be somewhat of a chilling effect, right? I don't like living in an environment where the news media can wildly inaccurately report the facts on anything, and there's absolutely no ramifications for this whatsoever. Like, I don't see how that is sustainable. It's one thing in a political environment where we expect our politicians to be lying, right? And the media to be fact checking them on their lies. But when the media itself is fucking lying, like, their whole thing is supposed to be truth, right? That's their one, like, the one thing that they're supposed to do.
Well, the difficulty with, I guess, navigating this is, yeah, you want the media to be accountable to either not intentionally lie, or even to not just be wildly irresponsible and negligent, by promoting something that they should know not to promote it, kind of like the Covington kid situation, not getting the facts, right?
Or
but
even
the same,
just calling Donald Trump a rapist. I don't think it's fair.
Right. But at the same token, you don't want to create a situation where Donald Trump, who's now the president, is suing anyone who puts out bad press about him, and it sort of to create this atmosphere of like, oh, everyone is afraid to possibly report anything negative about Donald Trump, because if you do, he's going to try to sue you personally. He's going to try to sue the company that you stand for.
That is the difficulty of the situation, right? Because like I said, I do think we need just a little chilling effect. Just a little, just turn it down just a tad, right?
You want to turn the temperature down 1 degree on
yeah. Look, I do. I want, and I'm stoked about the ABC being held to task on the rape thing, because it does matter. And look, it is malicious. They want to call Donald Trump a rapist. That's what they want to do. They're like, how do I concoct a story where I call Donald Trump a rapist? Like, you can argue that a lot of these trumped up cases that they brought against him, that, obviously there were good cases and bad cases, but a lot of them were just so that they could say, look, he's a convicted felon, right? That's what they want to be able. They want to be able to say that on TV and it to be true. Like that's the point of bringing it up. So, like, the one case with Alvin Bragg, like they had to do some major legal shenanigans to get it up to a felony, right? But the purpose of getting it up to a felony is because it sounds worse on TV and it's technically true, right?
That's funny. I saw actually Bill O'Reilly was talking about this on, I think it was on Fox, and he was saying that he thought it would make sense to investigate the attorney general's offices that were doing things that, you know, were questionable in these investigations against Trump, but that he was saying that it was ridiculous to go after the media or to go after pollsters for these sorts of things.
Yeah, look, I do think like this is a big miss, and I just Trump. And look, I'm totally mind reading here, but I think from Trump's perspective, Trump is like, I was treated completely unfairly. He's like, and whether or not you buy the narrative about the situation with Russiagate, he's like, look, my political opponent, Hillary Clinton, paid for the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was used to do a bunch of fucking shenanigans to spy on my campaign. We don't have to get on into whether that you believe that or not, right? Some people believe it, some people don't. But he believes it. Trump believes it. And this creates a sort of paranoia in him that he looks at people who this pollster is probably completely innocent, right? She's just doing her poll, like trying to figure out the truth. But to him, he sees, oh my God, she's like a push pollster who's she's one of these crazy people with TDS that just wants to take me down, right? So it's a misidentification of the thing, of the problem. And I mean, it sucks. It totally sucks because obviously I would prefer if Trump did not go after innocent people, but I mean, I understand the situation.
It's interesting because at best, it's what you said, that Trump, he's been driven sane. He's been driven to make terrible decisions because of, the fake news. Like the best case scenario is he's just being negligent, presumably, assuming that this poll was done innocently, is just being negligent and has become overly paranoid. At worst, it is an intention to create a chilling effect of people being afraid to report negatively on Trump.
No, and that's a good point. That's a great point. Like like I said, I can't read Trump's mind. Like I'm more hopeful. Trump is doing things that I do like. Obviously, I've talked about his Marty McCary appointment for the FDA. So like Trump is going to do some things that I like, and he's going to do some things that I don't like. So I'm more apt to give him the benefit of the doubt since he is doing stuff that I'm in favor of.
Right.
And just, obviously if a candidate comes in and everything they do you hate, then you're obviously it's going to rub you the wrong way, anything they do, right?
So in a second, I want to read you the evidence that the file that they put in the filing against Seltzer.
This is great. Yeah, this is great. It's so funny that this poll I know so much about just because I thought it was fascinating. Yeah, she bucked she bucked the establishment as far as polling goes as well. Right. So,
but yeah, before I get into that, I think and you brought up sort of the cases against Trump, and we talked about this when those cases happened. Is I said, okay, I thought that those New York cases, especially like the property cases that New York brought against Trump, these are like ridiculous. The banks, where they're saying that Trump was overestimating the property values. The banks themselves didn't
totally
care.
Bogus.
Right. Yeah. Like the banks themselves didn't care about this. And, a big problem I was saying that obviously, number one, you shouldn't bring up, cases against people that don't deserve it for not doing anything wrong. Obviously, that's first and foremost. But then number two, I was saying the people on the left, that they're stupid for doing this themselves because all they're doing is they're just providing a narrative to the Trump defenders to say, look, all these cases against Trump are bullshit. And they could just point to the New York cases, which were bullshit. And they could ignore, the documents case. They could ignore the false electors case, right? And so it's like, why would the people on the left give this ammunition to the other side? It's very stupid for them to do this because it's going to just be able to use to kind of obfuscate on this issue. And with Trump's going after Ann Seltzer here, I feel like it's the exact same scenario, because the left has been trying to paint this narrative that, Donald Trump is going to be the dictator. He's going to use, lawfare to go after people improperly. He's going to be revenge driven. He's going to do all these bad things, blah, 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 blah. And while there definitely are many instances that we can point to, Fine People hoax obviously is like the number one of the media being unfair or unethical or even lying about Donald Trump. For him to go after a pollster for a bad poll, that's going to be the number one claim that anyone on the left is going to point to and say, look, Donald Trump is immoral. He's wrong. He's lying, blah, blah, blah. He went after someone because they said he was going to lose based on a poll, right? Like, that's something that when you tell someone on its face, it seems ridiculous. Just when you tell like the average person, Donald Trump sued a pollster because they predicted he wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
And that this case, unless he finds some crazy evidence, which I don't think he's going to find, this case is going to just be like, mark my words, it's going to be that, like, when people kind of rattle off the laundry list of, proof that Donald Trump is doing something, wrong or crazy or going after people that don't deserve it, this case is going to be constantly cited in like the top 5. Even if this all gets thrown out of court, which I think this case will be dismissed pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. Donald Trump is really kind of on top of the world right now. So we're in a situation that I mean, a good example is kind of like these directors, these first-time directors, that their movie is like a giant fucking hit. I think Neil Blomkamp and like Richard Kelly. And then after these movies are such a success, like nobody wants to tell them no. Nobody wants to say, well, maybe,
yeah, right,
maybe this is not really the one to go to the mat on. So, then their second movie is like complete shit. You're like, oh my God, nobody told this person no. And now they're just doing all the wrong things. So
you have like a Joker 1, Joker 2 scenario going.
Yeah, look, that's another good example. I think, although he doesn't match the first time filmmaker thing. I think he's
I know, but like it was.
But you get the point, right?
Right.
Like, so I think if it's gonna, like, Trump is seeing this poll in a completely different light, and other people might be a little more measured and say, maybe we should keep our powder dry for something really nefarious. But Trump is like, I'm the king of the world. Go after everyone. So
I think, you have this like very delicate situation where you have someone who was a president, who's going to be president, going after the media legally. That's always going to look not great. And so I think you need to use a light touch, or to make sure that you're going after the people that like really very clearly did something wrong. And to me, this is just a total massive fuck up on Trump's team going after Ann Seltzer here. So, because let me read you this is the evidence that they provided in the filing. Okay.
Mhm.
That now remember,
Oh no.
now remember, they have to prove that Ann Seltzer intentionally and maliciously, did something suspect with the data, right? That's what they have to show. They have to show that she did something suspect with the data.
Right. So changing data would be something obviously nefarious and unethical. So I'm super skeptical that she did that, though.
Right. Okay. So according to the filing, the first piece of evidence that they provide is that Seltzer did a poll about the Iowa Attorney General in 2022, and she predicted the Democrat would win and the Republican won.
Mm-hmm. Well, so, that's not really evidence of anything.
Oh, you don't think that's evidence? Okay. That's interesting. I don't think that's evidence either, but
what you would need is something like the surveys that are filled out by the people who talk to the poll respondents.
Right.
And then the spreadsheet where it's put in, and the whatever's on the sheet is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you would need. You need something that would be evidence. Okay.
Right. Or if you had the data sheets and they were like fabricated, they weren't from real people.
Or if you had emails between her and someone else telling them to change the data, or yeah, look, there's all kinds of different ways you can. That's not it though.
No. Yeah,
She got it wrong on another poll.
she got it wrong on another poll.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, they're trying to make
Okay.
the argument that she favors Democrats. That's the
Right.
argument. She's biased.
Right. Evidence 2, she got a poll wrong in 2018 for the governor's race, also in favor of
Democrat.
Democrats.
Right.
Yes. Okay. That's
So she's
evidence-
always in favor of the Democrats?
well, according to this filing, right?
Right.
No, it's actually, and I'll pause here for a second because I found an article where you can, that Nate Silver, like he went through a bunch of different pollsters
Mhm.
and supposedly, I didn't check his math. I don't even know how to. He was sort of doing a bias check in terms of whether they're left leaning or right leaning. And Seltzer was only 0.1% Democrat leaning bias, according to, the ranking of the top 25 pollsters or something in the country.
So she has done polls where Republicans are shown to be the winner.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. We're living in a world where everyone is just fucking cherry picking and it drives me crazy. Like
Right.
you would have to, if Trump wants to make the argument that he's making, you need every single poll that she's done. Maybe there's 100 of them, right? And to show
Right.
that every single one Democrats are winning and Republicans are losing.
Right. Like, yeah, now that would be, it wouldn't be direct evidence, but that would definitely be some smoke there for like, okay, every poll that she ever produced
Yeah.
always shows the Democrats winning.
Then you'd be
that's
like,
pretty
okay, this
suspect,
is a
right?
little sus, right?
Yeah, right. Okay, here's the third piece of evidence. In 2020, for the Iowa Senate race, Seltzer polled at one point in the race that the Democrat was ahead. However, later, closer to the election, her last poll showed that actually the Republican was ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And they claim that she intentionally created suspense where there was none. Even though the poll that she put out said the Republican was going to win, and they did win, because she originally said that the Democrat was pulling ahead. That this is evidence somehow of something.
I mean, I'm curious how elections would roll if polling was just made illegal. Like the campaigns could do internal polling, but
Yeah.
none of this bullshit.
Public.
Well, it's like, can you imagine if our media was fixated on what astrologers thought the outcome would be for an election?
Right.
Like, how would that just fuck up our politics, right? Oh, what did the astrologers say today about who's going to win the election? That was motivating our politics. We wouldn't stand for it, right? So if there's no real methodology that works in our current environment with polling, why are we doing any of it?
Because we live in a free speech environment. People are curious.
Well, okay. So
I mean,
at some level, you have to think, okay, well, fraud is taking place here.
Yeah, but wait a minute. With this election, most of the polls had Trump, Harris within 2 to 3 points of each other in these swing states, and they all turned out to be completely correct because Trump won by like 2 points in the swing states.
Most of the polling got it correct.
Because they all had it within this margin of 2 to 3 points, flip-flopping either direction.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. I think that's part of the problem with the polling in the last few elections is that these margins have been just so insanely close that, if the margin of all these races in the country is going to be within the margin of error, I mean, how useful is the polling going to be at that point?
Yeah,
It's not going to be very useful.
Obviously, I don't think it's possible to do what I'm suggesting. I wonder what a world looks like where we don't do this polling.
Right.
Like
it would be interesting. Yeah.
Look, if you just did it for one, like I'm not, obviously this could never happen, right? I'm just spitballing here. But if you did it for a couple of election cycles and you saw, oh wow, turnout in the election was dramatically improved. Like turnout was up 20%, 30%. Would you say, I mean, obviously people who think turnout doesn't help them are going to say, oh, that's awful, right?
I mean,
I'm in favor of higher
right.
turnout, so I'm down with that.
It's hard for me to imagine intuitively that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm skeptical. I think that these polls might have some, as I said, a lot of people lie about whether they support the winner or not. I think it could have some minor effects on things. I don't know. It's hard for me intuitively to think that these polls are having some massive effect on how people vote one way or the other.
Death by
I don't.
Sloth says, well, I work for a major polling firm. Look, you're going to be out of a job, but it's all for the greater good.
Okay, so hold on. So let me read the fourth piece of evidence. Okay.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
So
let's hear it.
the one through
First of all, I haven't heard a piece of evidence yet.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. So 1 through 3, the claims that the Trump filing has is that she's got polls wrong, and then she got one poll wrong and then right. Okay.
None of
So
this is evidence. None of this is evidence for anything.
Yeah, this is like the weakest of weak sauce ridiculousness. Okay. So evidence piece 4, which is the only thing where you're like, okay, like maybe there's some level of impropriety here, but would it merit this lawsuit, is that 45 minutes before the poll was made public, it was leaked that the governor of not Iowa, but Illinois had somehow got the polling results beforehand.
So, like, maybe she emailed them to her. Who fucking cares? It's not like a secret.
No, I know. It doesn't. Well, they're saying that proves that this was collusion with the Democrats.
It doesn't prove anything.
I know it doesn't prove anything. And even the filing itself says that the polling company itself is going through employees' emails to try to discover who leaked the poll, which would imply that, the company doesn't know who leaked the poll and is not happy about it. So the filing kind of undermined its own argument there. Okay. So that's the evidence, quote, evidence provided. Obviously, none of this is evidence. It seems all fucking ridiculous. And then you get into the problem of damages, because obviously you can't sue someone unless there's damages. And you say, well, wait a minute, Donald Trump won the election. So what were the damages, right? Because you're claiming that this poll would somehow make so we lose the election. So they're claiming, and this, I feel like it'd be so impossible to prove.
I can't fucking wait to hear what the damages are. I got to be honest.
They're claiming that the Trump campaign and Trump had to spend more money in the state of Iowa than they would have if not for this poll.
Oh, okay. Well, at least there's a logical causal relationship between.
Yeah, but how could you prove that? Like, to prove that you A, spent more money in relation to this, and B, that you had to spend more money. Because remember, this is like part of the problems with their claims of damages. Number one, as they even say in the filing, this was one poll out of like a dozen. That's like all the other polls said that Trump was going to win that state. You have one poll that says he's going to lose the state. And then Trump ends up winning the state by double digits. And so it seems very unlikely to imagine that if this poll came out and the Trump team did no, quote, additional spending in response to this poll, is Trump going to lose his 11-point lead or 12-point lead in the state because of this one poll? That seems like impossible.
I mean, this is just, it's too gray. If there was a smoking gun, if they had evidence that they took a bunch of survey data that showed Trump was destroying it, and they completely threw all that in the garbage can and made up a completely fake poll. And Trump saw this poll and went in there and spent more money because of it. I mean, you're on firmer ground, right? That when some sort of fraud was committed, but just, somebody did a poll and got a different result and didn't really mess around with the data or anything. There's no there here. So
yeah, there's no there. And you're completely correct. If there was evidence that they had that showed some kind of nefarious manipulation, then we'd be talking, there's nothing. This filing is absurd. When I was reading it, well, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing gets just dismissed completely by a judge, like offhand, like this is just ridiculous because there's just nothing there. So
how much extra money did they have to spend that they want to be reimbursed for?
Let me see. Did they say the actual amount of money?
They're like $5 million.
Right.
I mean, it's campaign money. It's not even really who do they pay back? The campaign donors? It's like so
No,
weird.
that wouldn't make any sense. Yeah.
Look at this Shoe on Head sending
Hey,
us a
Shoe.
super chat. What's up, Shoe? So nice of you to drop in.
What
She
did it
says,
say?
Shoe on Head for $20 says, money for continuing to entertain me while I do chores.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Chores? Oof. Oh, man. At least until the baby understands what I'm listening to.
What do
Oh,
you
look.
mean? You want your child to grow up
Oh, my
like
God.
listening to the wisdom of Sitch
Now
and Adam.
now every time I drop the F-bomb, I'm going to think of Shoe's
little
kid.
baby going,
Mommy,
fuck,
mommy, what's
fuck,
what's
fuck
that
mean?
word mean?
Yeah.
All right, look, I'm cleaning up my act right now.
Okay.
No more cursing through the rest of this live stream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be a good boy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Good boy.
Speaking of,
till something triggers me, right?
I watched Red One yesterday.
Yes.
With Sammy. So
yes, yeah.
We're gonna talk about Red One
tomorrow evening or tomorrow at our regular time on our other channel. Is that what we're gonna do? What you
something
do?
like that? Yeah, depending on whether there's
major news, we'll do a live stream here, and if there's not, maybe we'll do that, or maybe we'll just do 2 live streams tomorrow and do one in the evening. But I too have watched Red One, which we talked about a little
free
bit.
to view on Amazon Prime if you have an Amazon Prime account.
Yeah, if anyone wants to watch it ahead of time before we talk about it,
right.
We get
our
perspectives on it. Yeah,
I thought it was good. I think Adam hated it because he hates fun.
But I said it was good. I literally said it was good.
I just tried to trigger you.
But that I didn't it wasn't great. It wasn't like earth shattering or anything like that.
Okay.
What did Sammy G think of it? Did you
Sammy
watch it with
thought
her?
it was fantastic.
Fantastic.
She was great.
Huh?
She was amazing. She was one of the best movies ever crafted.
Right. And it's my perspective that, I mean, women tend to be over the moon for like silly movies. So I'm not, I kind of expect that response. So.
Wow. Okay. She says this is why she's his S class. That unfair characterization.
Well, look, my wife had the same perspective, and I hope that she's A team. So I think it's more of a woman thing than an S class thing. Mm-hmm. I think you yourself said it was good, but not.
I said it was good, not like great.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. It's a good movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So the official S class response is good, not great. Mm-hmm. What makes Sammy G S class then?
No, because
her response is it's fantastic.
No. It was your response about like, oh, women like goofy, stupid movies. that was the response. Okay, it's not that I didn't like the movie as much.
Oh, okay. Anyway, fun stuff. So look, Trump is going to do some good things. Trump is going to do some bad things.
This looks like it's going to be one of the bad things.
Hopefully it doesn't derail anything too much. So
I'm telling you, this is going to be like one of the big go-tos to show that Donald Trump is, a dictator.
Right.
This ridiculous lawsuit. Now,
they're gonna make that argument, but we're not going to make that argument, right?
No, well, I'm going to say definitely shows that he's on the vindictive side of things, not the unity side of things.
I don't know that you can make that assessment unless you know Donald Trump's state of mind, because
we just have to. Obviously, we can't read his mind. We're saying based on his actions, the trajectory that he's sort of heading for, right?
But we can think of a situation where the person totally deserves it.
Of course, right?
Yeah. So, and if he sees it as the person that totally deserves it, then you're not being vindictive. No, I think of vindictive as going after people who don't deserve it.
Wait. Like, okay, maybe we're using different terminology, because when you could take revenge against someone who wronged you, right? I mean, that's generally the way, you got revenge for someone who wronged you in some fashion. And the question was, is Donald Trump going to? The question, because you're right, I can't read his mind, and obviously we're not going to know all the facts for all the allegations that Trump is going to make or his team is going to make against any of these people. The question is is Donald Trump going to spend time in his first term as president going after the media legally through civil courts or trying to investigate them? Is he going to be going after Democrats legally with lawfare or trying to investigate them? Or is he going to put all that aside and say, you know what, I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm just going to try to make America great again through passing legislation and blah, 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 and, you know, doing policies that people like. And so far, especially with these lawsuits, it's definitely showing to me that he's heading towards the path of going after people. This is definitely not a signal of I want to kind of unify the country to go about things, you know, for policies that people want.
I listened to the entire press conference yesterday, and I mean, I thought he did really good at looking very presidential in that press conference.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's a mixed bag. Like I said, this is obviously a data point in favor of, like, he's definitely got it wrong on this one. Well, look,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I want to say that, because I'm willing to give Ann Seltzer the benefit of the doubt, but like if they dig and find out, oh my God, she has complete TDS and she did fake all of the polling stuff, then I don't want to be out there saying, oh, I said she was fine, right? So they're taking Trump into complete context of the things that he's doing. I think he's doing things that are going to be good for the country. So.
Yeah, well, to be clear, I'm not making a statement about every single thing Donald Trump is going to do is going to be bad for the country. You know, this is part of why I appreciate what Jank and Anna have been saying, which is if Donald Trump does something good that you like, you should support it and support him in doing that. If he does something bad, you should call him out and not support it. And I definitely see an attitude on the left with a lot of pundits in terms of like, there's a fear, it seems like, with they're afraid to give Donald Trump credit for anything. If he does anything or seems like maybe he'll do something, that would be a policy that they would be in support of. They don't want to work with him whatsoever, right? I've heard a lot of left-wing pundits kind of talk about this, and I don't agree with that at all. But all I'm saying is that in terms of this, how is the direction going to go? Is this going to be a forgive and forget or not? I mean, this is clear indication that we're not in the forgive or forget world, that we're in the direction of I'm going to go after people world.
I listen to the Young Turks quite often now, and the thing about Jank is Jank makes these comments that make it obvious that he thinks Donald Trump is just a selfish, lying piece of shit that only cares about himself and thinks the American people are suckers. Like, that's basically
his world. Yeah, I know. And you don't, and I know that you don't think that. Yes.
Look, and I don't think that. And I've read a lot of books from a lot of people talking about Donald Trump. It's definitely a mixed bag. There are times when I think, oh man, that's fucked up. Donald Trump shouldn't do that, right? But there are times when he's completely magnanimous and does the right thing, right? So I
well, this is not one of those times, because
look, I keep saying it could just be a misinterpretation. Like, he could have the wrong perspective. He sees this person as shifty shift.
It doesn't matter, but okay, to me, and maybe this is just the worldview. Okay,
you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. You're saying since he's president, he can't be wrong.
Let me explain this.
Okay.
I think it's important for an individual, especially someone who's in power, but I think for all individuals, to check themselves to try to understand whether that, to check why they believe certain things, what brought them to those conclusions. Are the conclusions based on facts, or are they based on bias? And I would say it seems like, at least in this situation, like, that's why to me, I don't really care if Donald Trump honestly in his heart of hearts believes that Ann Seltzer is evil. If he doesn't have any way of checking his own biases, his own opinions, okay, then that's ridiculous, because you have a situation where you have someone who's going to be president is suing someone, and as you said, like, putting them in, a situation where they're going to have to spend money for a lawyer and all this other stuff, when Donald Trump has no evidence. He does not have a single shred of evidence that Ann Seltzer did anything wrong whatsoever. And to me, I think it's incredibly immoral to put people in a situation where, especially when you have no evidence that they did anything wrong, they just be like, oh, I'm just going to throw a lawsuit at them because, maybe I can drag something out in discovery, even though I have no evidence, or maybe I can just, kind of cow them into silence in the future, or people like them in the future. And I think that's an immoral action.
If
I think
that's
if
what
you're
he's
going to sue
doing, it is
someone,
immoral.
you should have evidence that they actually did something wrong,
I think
or strong reason to believe that they did something wrong. And there's nothing like that here.
I think Donald Trump checks his bias the same way we all check our bias. He asks other people. He gets information from other people. He gets other people's perspective to try to understand if he's viewing the picture accurately.
Right.
If 10 people came to him and said, oh yeah, this Ann Seltzer, she's just like fucking shifty shift. She's fucking got an axe to grind. She's a liar. We've caught her lying red-handed. Donald Trump is going to say, oh my God, we should go after her.
Right.
So I don't necessarily know, but
well, just to put a pin on this, because then so we can just move on is
okay.
Yeah, I mean that is a big problem. That's definitely a big problem in politics.
Would you blame Trump if that's?
That's what I was going. Well, hold on. That's what I was going to ask you. Is that there's definitely a big problem in politics where people end up getting surrounded by yes men, but in the end of the day, and I don't know if you'd agree with this, it's that like if you're in leadership position and you're surrounded by yes men, that's your fault for being surrounded by yes men. You're the one that either fires people until you get to the people that say yes, or you cultivate an environment where people feel like they have to be yes men. There's no one else to blame in that situation except for the individual who cultivates that environment.
Right. That is another common charge against Donald Trump that I think is completely fallacious, that he surrounds himself with yes men.
Wait, that's what you were saying regarding the Ann Seltzer thing.
Look, I'm saying in this one particular case, everyone could have a gut intuition about her that's completely incorrect. They're not necessarily, telling Trump what he wants to hear. Trump just is soliciting opinions. And the predominant opinion is this woman's a fucking partisan hack. Like it could just be an accident. That's the argument that I'm making.
Do you think? Okay. Well, I guess we can move on, but I'll just say, and maybe this is just the difference in worldview here. I spoke, when it comes to Joe Biden staying in the race, I blame him 100%. And I blame the people around him who probably were acting as yes men 100%. Say these people were all wrong for doing it, and Joe Biden's ego grew out of control. And I would not give Joe Biden an ounce of, I would not remove responsibility just because he in his heart of hearts honestly believed he could defeat Trump, which I think he did. And honestly, maybe the people around him either also believe that or were just too afraid to tell Joe Biden no. I don't give points for that. I say no, Joe Biden's ego got in the way. Fuck him. The people around him are cowards. And so, if this Seltzer thing looks to me to be very similar, so I don't give Trump any points for that.
Okay. And that's fine. Look, I agree. I think it's wrong. I think it's not. I think whoever is advising him is giving him bad advice. So,
well, I think this all just looks bad.
Looks bad. I agree.
Him.
I agree with everything. Yes, like he should be saving his energy for real corruption.
His capital. Yes.
Yeah,
he should be saving
spending
his
political capital
right
on stupid shit. And look, my argument, I already made it. I'll say it again really quickly. He's kind of on the top of the world right now. He thinks, look, I got political capital ad infinitum here, right? I got political capital to waste, which I do think is a political miscalculation as well. Like Trump famously did not get any honeymoon period in his first term, which I think he was super chapped about. A lot of times these presidents come in and they're like, it's kind of an unwritten rule that we're going to try to work together and come together after the election, right? So there's a bit of a honeymoon period, which I don't think he ever got. I think he's experiencing now a little bit of that honeymoon period. And I think this is a time that he should be taking advantage of it and not, going after what is to be gained out of this? It's so stupid. Right.
Right.
Like he won the election.
Yeah.
What's the purpose? What is
Well,
the purpose?
Yeah, I mean, these lawsuits. They're just gonna hang around his neck like an albatross. He's also, I believe, currently in a lawsuit against the Pulitzer organization, trying to sue them for giving the New York Times and Washington Post a Pulitzer Prize in like 2017 or something about, Russia investigation stuff. And it's just like, okay, we've like, why? Like, it's just all these things just dragging him down, wasting time, wasting political capital, wasting energy. And you're right. What is it all for? This isn't going to lead to anything good.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways.
Good. We can move on.
Okay. Let me read some supers here. Tom Lanning for $2 says, y'all should reach out and talk to Colin Moriarty. Is that how you say his name?
Colin Moriarty. Yeah.
Okay.
Who's that?
I don't know. I don't know who it is, but we'll reach out.
We haven't. People were asking in the comments about having people on, so we haven't. I guess we haven't had people on in a while, and people are like, they have a hankering to get someone on. So we talked about having Sean on, and I mean, we can Dev would be fun to have on. You're often, I think, wrongly accused of having TDS Sitch, so I do think having Dev on would be good because. If we get, if you're sitting next to Dev, people will obviously understand.
Listen, there's like a spectrum, okay? Because it's like, okay, you're gonna say like, oh, look, Sitch, he's got the TDS. Then you say, well, no, actually, Dev, he's got TDS. But that's like, oh, well, actually, no, you got like Pisco and and Hutch. Like that's like the real, TDS. Like it's just a continual spectrum, right? So.
Yeah. No, it is funny. So. But my reputation is tending towards like the Trump simp or Trump simping. But in all honesty, I don't think it's fair because look, and this is how partisan media works, right? Trump does 10 things, right? 5 of them are good, 5 of them are bad. Well, the right obviously reports on all the good things he did, the left reports on all the bad things he did. So it's just. For me, I want to think. I'm going okay. Well, the 5 things are good, but are they good enough to overcome the bad things?
Well,
that's
I don't
like
think
the thing that the calculus I'm constantly making.
To me,
right?
it shouldn't. And I don't know. Maybe it's unhealthy to look at it in terms of like trying to do some kind of balancing act in terms of does the good outweigh the bad or does the bad outweigh the good? Because I think that's what leads people to the road of bias. I think what we should strive for is to say, let's just report on things. Just objectively, if he does something good, then we report on it. If he does something bad, then you report on it. You don't just say, oh, I'm only going to report on good things. I'm only going to report on bad things. Because then I think, or I'm going to try to find the average because then I think that leads you the direction of your bias.
I'm not sure I agree just because I think the biased people are really incapable of seeing the other 5 things. Like whatever 5 things they're focused on, I think the other things are just completely invisible to them. And
I agree.
I'm a firm believer in the Thomas Sowell life is all about trade-offs. I mean, this is what's making it so complicated. You said something that was really smart earlier. I can't remember if it was on stream or off stream, but you talked about how partisans are just at a major advantage because they can make arguments that are just so crystal clear, so clean because they're not constrained by looking at the totality of the situation. They could just zero in on whatever inequity is going to make their argument.
Right. Yeah, I said this off stream to you. I said that if you're biased or partisan, you're always going to have a strong argument against the person trying to be objective because it's very easy for humans are creatures that like stories and they absorb information through narrative storytelling. We kind of talked about this is why Trump was a much better politician than Kamala Harris, is that Kamala Harris lacks the ability to tell a compelling or convincing story to anyone. And it's kind of the same thing when trying to understand news, where if you're a biased source or a partisan hack, you're going to paint a very clear narrative where one side is all villains, one side is all heroes, and here's, the story of how the heroes are, valiantly fighting against the villains. And that's just going to be a very clear, easy to understand, attractive narrative for people to consume. Where if you're trying to be objective, the real world is usually complicated, messy, muddy, gray, and there's usually not a clear hero and clear hero or clear villain. There's people doing kind of shady stuff, and everyone's kind of doing shitty stuff, and some people are kind of doing good stuff, and it's all very hard to make sense of it. And if you tell that story, well, that story is just naturally not as attractive as the very clear partisan bias story.
Yeah, it's not as appealing.
So,
Me sitting around trying to weigh the difference between the 5 good things and the 5 bad things and the net positive or negative that comes of it is just, it's
Right.
not near as, and it's more complicated. It's a tougher argument to make. It's an easier argument to like fight against. Did you listen to the press conference, the entire press
Yes.
conference? A lot of clips came out of him.
I think the entire press conference.
So Trump did a super interesting, fascinating thing at the beginning. Like he has this, I don't know if it's a Chinese businessman,
Japanese guy.
or a Japanese businessman or a Japanese diplomat, right? But the guy's agreed to invest $100 billion in manufacturing in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's completely just blowing. Blowing smoke means you're kind of disingenuous about it. Like maybe Trump loves the guy. Okay, I don't know if he's blowing smoke or what, but he's definitely getting on this guy's good side, right? This guy loves him. He loves Trump. Oh God, he's so happy to be there, basking in the limelight with the two-term non-consecutive, the 2 non-consecutive term president. Like he's on top of the world. And Trump asks him, like flat out in the middle of the press conference, well, how about you double it to like 200 billion?
Right.
Which I'm just thinking.
He said it more than once too.
Yes,
and it went from the realm of joke to maybe not a joke. Yeah.
And the guy walked away and said he would totally try. He would totally try for the higher number, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
and I'm
just that, obviously.
Yes. Look, obviously he's gonna say that. But look, the point that I want to make is, I mean, can you imagine Obama doing something like that? Can you imagine Clinton doing something? Like what president would just take that kind of risk right there? But Trump completely pulled it off. Like it's fucking fascinating. And also, like that sends such a clear message to his constituents. I'm here fighting for you. Look, and I don't care about the fucking niceties. I don't care that you're not supposed to do this in the middle of a press conference. I'm the guy that's here selling America 24/7, whether you like it or not, for you. It was just, it was fascinating. It was so fascinating.
Yeah, no, you're correct. It definitely does send that message, even though obviously that's exactly the reason why he had the guy there in the first place, was just to send that exact message. It is good messaging.
Yeah, whether it's politics or real, I guess is where you're headed. So,
well, I mean, it could be both. That is, you can use something that's real, and you could also use it to your political advantage. Not let a good opportunity go to waste. It is good if Donald Trump convinced some guy. I don't know the specifics of the business detail, and I don't know if they talked about it or maybe I just missed it. It is good if Donald Trump has got some guy to invest 100 billion, maybe 200 billion into America. That's great. That's wonderful. And Trump should be applauded for that. I wish he didn't undermine it by doing some ridiculous Ann Seltzer lawsuit, but everyone is a mixed bag of both good and bad things. So
yeah.
well,
yeah,
I
thought it was fascinating from like a psychological perspective.
It was definitely great persuasion, because that guy, and I think you're actually underselling it. That Japanese
he got
guy,
him on the record in front of all those people, which is like social, like that's some fucking social manipulation there.
But even also very importantly is that business guy, that guy seemed like he fucking loved Donald Trump. He seemed like he was in love with Donald Trump. He was laughing. He's having a great time. He was looking up at him with admiration, right? So this is all like really good persuasion power and definitely like a fantastic idea politically to have this guy come out, before the press conference.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, it was great. So I hope Trump does more good things than bad things.
Yes,
Terrible.
that
That's
would be
terrible
nice.
messaging.
That would be nice. Tom waiting for $5 says best frontman of Genesis, Phil Collins or Peter Gabriel.
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a tie, isn't it? It's difficult to say. What do you got, Sitch? Are you a Genesis fan?
This is
way before your time, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
this is before my time, right?
Yes. Well, and both of them went on to do huge solo careers that were probably bigger.
Do I
But
even
anyway.
know a Genesis song offhand? I don't even know if I know one. I'm sure that I've heard of one of them. I just can't think of it at the top of my head.
Anyway, what's next?
Anyway. And then also in the same vein, Tom waiting for $2 says favorite Beatle, Paul, John, George, or Ringo.
Well, obviously, I'm a fan of underdogs, so you know my pick.
Who's the underdog? In the
Ringo,
Beatles?
obviously.
Ringo? Okay.
Ringo's a huge underdog.
He was the drummer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The drummers never get respect, so.
I know, exactly. Look, and he didn't go on to do any solo stuff or anything.
Right.
So.
The real whole name for $5 says, quote, we need a whole thriving echo chamber, end quote. CNN probably.
No, and it was interesting that you read ecosystem as ecosystem. And I was like, oh, that's very telling right there.
Echo chamber?
We need a leftist ecosystem. And I'm like, well, they do. They already have an ecosystem.
Oh, I read it as echo chamber. Yeah, that's funny. No, it says echo chamber. What are you talking about?
Where it said that in the article? In the article, no. It said ecosystem.
Oh. Real Whole was making a joke then. Echo
right.
chamber. Right.
Because you said, but I'm sure he was making it based on you saying ecosystem in the
okay.
article.
Gotcha. Okay. I missed that I said that. Yeah, that's funny. A little bit of a Freudian slip on my end of how I perceive it. Even though, to be fair, they have Scott Jennings, smack him around. That's nice. Tom waiting for 2 hours says best member of Wu-Tang Clan.
I have no idea who is in Wu-Tang Clan.
I don't know.
Tom waiting. It's not like we run a music show.
I know. Libertarian Sasquatch for 2 hours says people forget most of Joe's content isn't political.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Joe Rogan. Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah, he talks to comedians and sports people, and yeah, there's an eclectic stuff for everyone. It's weird that they want to make it seem like he's a fucking political podcaster. It's like, look, I'm a dude that smokes weed and wants to read books.
I think he definitely has an influence on the political conversation, and that's why people do. And Joe Rogan's almost always exclusively on the side of heterodoxy. So whatever is sort of like the not mainstream opinion seems to be where he's not always going to be there, but where he's intuitively going to want to be. And so I do think it's fair to talk about it in that context, but you were correct. He does a lot of shows, if not the majority of his shows are not about politics directly.
Yeah, I don't. He has talked to a lot of the heterodox people. Like you think Jonathan Haidt, you think Jordan Peterson, so, Brett Weinstein, Eric Weinstein.
Mm-hmm.
But you wouldn't give him that label when he's just talking to some comedian or some.
No, I'm giving it to him not because of who he talks to him. Like when he, because remember he would say like, oh, he used to be really big into all conspiracies. Like that used to be like his jam, we never went to the moon, XYZ. Like whenever there's a conspiracy, that's where he would gravitate towards believing first and foremost.
Yeah. So contrarian is probably a better term.
Maybe contrarian. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's the correct way. That's where his intuition is. So that's where he's going to be drawn to being. And sometimes they're going to be right. That side of the equation is going to be right. Sometimes the side of the equation is going to be wrong.
Right.
So,
There's
Chicken
this,
Chaser,
there's this narrative developing, or I've indulged in watching some of these TYT hate fest videos. These people that are like, everyone seems to be beating up on TYT now. And there seems to be this narrative forming that Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, they're only talking to people on the right, and a lot of people on the far left are like completely chapped. They're like, I'm not mad that they're talking to the right. It's just that they're only exclusively talking to the people on the right, right?
right.
And they won't talk to any of the far left people. The far left people keep pestering them, but they've shut them out, right? I guess Cenk Uygur doesn't want to talk to Sam Cedar or whatever. And I noticed, like, one of the first people Anna Kasparian had on her unaligned podcast was a dude from Left Reckoning. It was like a fucking socialist.
Right.
So I'm just like, what are these people thinking? Like, how can you say stuff like that? Like, that narrative is completely false. I think, like, we ourselves, we're not, jumping, champing at the bit to talk to people who are bad faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of people on the far left are completely bad faith. So I can understand why you wouldn't want to talk to them.
Right.
But look, if there's someone on the far left that's good faith, like, they're down to talk to them. So
yeah. Well, I mean, that's what that critique translates into. It's, I'm mad that Anna or Cenk won't come on my stream so I can yell at them.
Yeah. Yes, totally. So I can yell at them, be bad faith, try to dunk on them in front of my audience and win followers, not really have any sort of constructive dialogue. Yeah.
Chicken Chaser, thanks so much for joining the Free Will Seekers. Tell Gore for $5 says, petition to start calling cancel culture flaccid culture because people are soft. No relation to the topic, just funny. A-team reigns supreme. Well, I do like it. That is pretty funny. Flaccid culture.
I do. I have a very specific definition of cancel culture that is, obviously cancel culture is a contested term. Everyone has their own kind of pet definition, but I think of it as using lies to cancel somebody.
Right.
So
Tom Wayne for $2 says, did you see Destiny on the Adam Friedland show? I saw that he was on it. I did not actually watch it. So is it worth watching? Was it interesting?
I'm at the point where Destiny content is like nails on a chalkboard for me.
That's why I didn't watch it. Yes.
So have you achieved that as well?
I mean, I've been there for a long time.
So. Okay.
But I still will watch it if it's interesting. Adam Friedland isn't he one of the socialist Cumtown guys, or is that someone different?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. And, I know that he was on some stream with Hasan and they were shit talking Destiny. So I assume there was a lot of drama in that conversation, but
Destiny was doing a thing for a while when we were covering him where he was like, I'm going to be good faith with conservatives. I'm going to basically adopt the perspective that conservatives aren't all evil and they have something to say that I'm going to understand and translate to my audience, which is, I think, a good mission. It's kind of a mission that you and I have been on for a while, Sitch. So I thought that was interesting, but it seems that we were duped. That really wasn't the mission at all. That the mission was to like infiltrate various conservative commentators and kind of steal away their audience. And really the feeling is conservatives are all evil, all grifters, all liars, and that this was just a mission to steal away their audience to the good side, the righteous side, the side that never gets anything wrong, the liberal progressive side. It seems like that arc played out like that. So that to me, just I can't listen to Destiny and just take him serious on anything. Right. I always think, is this part of the grift? Like, is he just telling me like what he thinks I want to hear so he can manipulate me? What is your take? Do you have thought at all?
I don't know.
This?
I don't think it was a grift. I think it was a real feeling. I don't know what sparked, flipped the switch in the other direction for him. Because I didn't watch enough of his content to be like, oh, this was the moment that he turned. Right. So I don't know what caused the shift.
Well, I always see these clips now, and I think the last one was just him saying, "Oh, you can't talk to conservatives because conservatives can lie with impunity," and there's no way that you can argue against someone who can just make things up and the facts don't matter at all. And I just think, how does that not apply to the left? Like the left does plenty of making shit up.
My limited understanding of the content I've seen, to me, seemed like learning about the elector scheme like broke him. And when he would question conservatives about it and they would not be what's the word, receptive to having a conversation about it openly or honestly, I think he just turned like completely in their direction because he was disgusted by the reaction. That's my interpretation of it. I could be projecting some of my own feelings on it, but that's what I saw. But anyway, I don't know. I don't care. We can move on with our lives.
Well, no, as someone who had an open and honest many open and honest conversations about the January 6th situation, I got to tell you, I got no respect for any of it. So,
right.
Like, what would be the point?
Right. William Vance, thanks so much for 30 months of discipline equals freedom. Says we can only hope that Hasan getting more normies looking at him will clip his wings in Twitch executives. I like free speech, but I believe there's no place for extremism. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Electro for $20, thanks so much, says what also pisses me off about Hasan is the amount of people willing to lick his boots. The amount of spineless people on Twitch is disgusting.
They want those views. They want those views. They feel entitled to them.
That is true. Stug for $5 says daylight savings time is a scam. I've never seen any daylight savings in my life ever. In fact, that seems to be when I spend the most. That's a good point. That's a fantastic point.
It's daylight spending.
Right.
The more you spend, the more you save.
There you go. There you go. It's obviously daylight savings time is a conspiracy to get us to spend more money by our government overlords. Okay.
On candy, at least during Halloween.
Right.
That's true.
One man band for $5 says at least rename things. Standard implies the majority of time. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. So
they should call it classic time.
Right.
Old time.
Mr. Ubercross, thanks so much, Mr. Ubercross, for $20. Said Rasmussen reports said they think she just messed up her view of the electorate and oversampled older people and undersampled younger rural voters. Yeah, that, it's interesting because number one, I mean, it's interesting that Rasmussen says that because I think Rasmussen is like wildly, massively biased. I mean, they could do good polling, but whoever does their opinions is so wildly biased. But that seemed, it's funny because I think she even said that she was kind of oversampling older people at the time. And, the only age demographic that went for Harris was that demographic of older people. Remember, it was like the 40 to 65, I think, was the only age range that actually went for Harris. All the other age ranges went for Trump. And so if she did oversample that age range, that would make sense that you would get a very skewed poll result.
But the way she put the samples together was based on asking like 1,000 people whether or not you were a likely voter, and establishing the set of likely voters as a certain thing based on the responses to that. So the reason why she oversampled older people was because older people like had already voted or said yes, they were definitely voting. So they got into the likely voters set, and younger people were like iffy. So she sampled them less, right? But it turns out, look, they did actually show up. So, which I thought was interesting about the methodology because, look, a lot of people are driven by the issues. And if there's not like any major issue, they're like, okay, well, fuck, maybe I won't vote, right? So figuring out who is actually going to vote is part of the polling.
Well, that's a good point. And I don't know, because I don't remember what date her poll came out exactly, but if she was polling people when you could have already got your mail-in ballot and sent it back, I mean, that the early voting tends to skew Democrat anyway. So that would add an additional level of skew on your results.
Right, because more of them had actually already voted.
Voted, yeah.
They definitely got, and this is a key difference because now a lot of people can vote early. So a likely voter is like they already have voted. They're not just a likely voter. They are indeed a voter.
Right. Well, I think what it shows is that her thought process was interesting, but ultimately proved to be fatally flawed in terms
Incorrect. Yeah, exactly.
of predictive power. So,
but whatever. Who cares?
Libertarian Sasquatch for $2 says, if their report is true, it shouldn't matter.
Agreed. Yeah, truth is the ultimate arbiter.
That is true. Alex Wright for $2 says, have you guys seen any drones in the night sky?
I have not, but
no. So actually, I guess we talked briefly about this drone story. You know, this is the drones over New Jersey story and all this stuff. You know, it's so much speculation. My gut tells me that it was the government was just testing something, and it's literally nothing. And it's just some guy came up with some test of something. Maybe they wanted to see, you know, like, oh, you know, could drones effectively attack America? Let's do a test or something. They didn't think it was going to be a big deal. It blew up and became a big deal. Now they're embarrassed and they're trying to like hide it because eventually they probably just sabotage their career because they're not going to be able to advance anymore because of all the eyeballs on the story. So there was some guy who owns a military drone company or something, and he kind of talked about this whole story about missing nukes and that maybe he thought the drones were looking for radiation and, you know, all this other stuff. And Ryan Macbeth had a kind of an interesting video basically shitting all over that, saying, you know, apparently he's done a lot of, I didn't know this, he did a lot of research into nukes specifically, and obviously he works for a drone company, and he was talking about how that doesn't make any sense because if you had nuclear material that was radioactive, so it wasn't shielded, you actually wouldn't really be able to see it from the sky with a drone. That doesn't even make sense. Like it wouldn't be so radioactive that you'd even be able to see it. So you wouldn't be looking for it that way. You'd say you just station someone outside of hospitals to look for people that come in with acute radiation poisoning. He's like, that's the best way you would to find, you know, to figure out if someone's carrying some unshielded radioactive material. So he's saying this whole concept of like looking for the nukes seems to be, you know, completely not true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the drone story is weird. I don't really know what to make of it. So there was also, Trump talked a bit about a story where
Trump said exactly what I said regarding the drone story.
No, he did. Well,
he said it was the U.S. government. He didn't know why that. He thought that he was just doing some tests. He doesn't know why that they were hiding it, and he thinks they're stupid for hiding it. And I was like, wow, me and Trump aligned perfectly on that one issue.
Yeah. The wall selling thing that he talked about too.
Oh, yeah,
that's
he did
interesting. A good job of articulating it. I don't. Right. What? So the Biden administration is set, like, isn't the wall fixed to the ground? Like, how is the Biden administration selling sections of the wall?
So there is. So what they're selling is that there's material that would be used to build the wall that they haven't yet used.
Okay, so they have a U.S. storage site with a bunch of wall material,
right?
And they're selling it off for pennies on the dollar, so they can. They're basically selling it for like scrap metal.
Right.
And Trump is like, I'm going to have to turn around and rebuy that on the open market for 3 times as much just to continue the wall.
Right. Well, Trump made he made an even strong claim. He claimed, I don't know if this is true. He claimed that the government bought this building material. They didn't for the wall. It sat around being unused, and the company they bought it from they're selling it back to the same company for pennies on the dollar, and then they're going to have to buy it back again like a second or third time.
Yeah, when Trump gets in, he's like, "Look, I'm going to build the wall. I want that material." Yeah.
Right. I did try to do a little bit of research into the story because it is like I'm pretty curious about this story. And the only defense I've seen so far from the Defense Department or from the Biden administration is just they keep saying something like, "Well, they have to sell the material by law." And I was like looking through the law because you could have a theoretical situation where if you don't, you know, it could be written in the law where like I don't know what the how long the shelf life is on his building material. But you could have some weird
Rebarb, it only
I know it
lasts like
doesn't
6 months.
I don't know. But like um that they're saying that in the law, they're making it sound like in the law that if there's some building material that is unused after a point of time, it has to be sold, right? Like our hands are tied. It's in the law. I looked at the law and I found the section they're talking about, and it was in like legalese, so I couldn't fucking make heads or tails of it whatsoever. So I can't tell if it is just some kind of weird, like incompetent bureaucracy thing, or if it's just completely maliciously stupid bullshit by the Biden administration
Right.
to just try to send a fuck you to Donald Trump as he, enters in the door here.
Sad.
So, and again, the reporting on it, unfortunately, reporters don't do their
Horrible.
job on any of this stuff because they don't really try to look into it either.
Well, Trump was talking about it, and he was doing a terrible job because I kept thinking he was talking about the wall, selling the wall, and I'm like,
Right.
when people say, "I got a bridge I want to sell you," isn't
Yeah,
that like
yeah, right.
selling a section of the wall?
Right,
Like,
right.
I got a section of the wall I want to sell you.
Gavatron for 7 Canadian says prediction: Trump's second term will be likened to Avatar. It'll be very successful, but in retrospect, people will say it was shit.
That's pretty typical.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Sir Host of the Liver for Hunter Kazarkazark says, what do you think will be Trump's strategy for ending the Ukrainian war? I don't really think it's going to be up to Trump. I really think it's going to be 100% up to Putin. Is Putin looking to pull out? Is Putin looking for an excuse to end the war? If he is, I think he would be 100% to use Trump becoming president to hammer out some kind of deal where, they get some aspect of the Donbass region. They get some kind of guarantee Ukraine won't be in NATO, and both sides will kind of back down. If he's not looking to end the war in Ukraine, I don't think Trump can literally do anything to solve that without just giving Russia the country, which I don't think Trump would do that. I think that would be way too much political backlash, even though a lot of his base wants him to essentially do that.
Trump is physically incapable of taking a bad deal. Like he just is he does not want anyone to say, "Oh, you got a bad deal." So
right.
So I can't imagine him just giving Putin everything he wants. That's just I can't fathom that.
Well, I don't think he would do that. I guess you could make the argument, say, well, it's not really, is it a bad deal for America? Because you say, well, it's a bad deal for Ukraine, right? But is it a bad deal for America?
Right.
So, but I don't think that's going to happen. Hayden Dill for 29 months of discipline equals freedom. Thanks so much. Says that dang darn moo dang baby hippo predicted Trump would win. So baby hippos have a prediction accuracy of 100%. Therefore, moo dang is greater than the polls. S class is a gator and A team is a slippery dick swallow.
What? What the hell is a slippery dick swallow?
Is that a bird? It's just like an insult.
I don't know, but
you can Google it and find out.
It is pretty funny.
Right. But anyway,
there
you go. Moo dang beats the polls. Hayden Dill for $2 says slippery dick is a fish, not a bird. I forgot.
Oh, look at this. He preemptively understands that you're not even going to get. Thank you for clarifying.
There you go. Slippery dick is a fish.
Now
I'm looking at a picture of it. It does not look like a dick. So I don't know why it's called that. But if your dick looks like a slippery dick fish, contact your doctor immediately. The Wooster for $50. Thank you, Wooster. Says polls are fraudulent and un-American. Look, he's agreeing with you, Adam. Polls are un-American. This is a good thing. I hope these people get sued into oblivion. You can make stats say what you like depending on formula and methodology. Seltzer is an obvious DNC op to gaslight and demoralize the U.S. population. Well, there you go. Thank you for the $50. Even if everything is completely untrue.
Very generous super chat. And look, if that is the perspective that Trump is predominantly seeing,
right,
from his aides.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know Trump had AIDS, did you?
I knew from Jared from Subway that Donald Trump had AIDS. Yes, I did know that.
Oh, okay.
Unlike Jared, they did not help Trump lose weight though.
Right.
Mr. Middleman for $2 says, didn't this come up with Conway on Sunday show? The seltzer thing didn't come up. No. But
Someone told, or someone in the comments mentioned that Kellyanne Conway's husband, the TDS George Conway, does a weekly podcast with Sarah Longwell as well, which I was thinking, that
adds a whole layer of that interaction that we did not see or did not perceive. Yeah.
So Sarah Longwell and Kellyanne Conway were going at it on the show we watched on the Sunday stream, and her ex-husband does a weekly show with Sarah Longwell, Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband. So
right. Wow.
That's
it's
funny.
called what is oh, you know what? I have seen these. I just didn't realize that was George Conway.
Yeah.
That's the guy on the Bulwark with Sarah Longwell.
Yeah.
It is George Conway.
Okay.
Well, I'd seen
he's on CNN all the time. He's a regular. Right. He's like, I think he was instrumental in starting the Log Cabin Republican, or is it?
Right.
Is it the Log Cabin Republicans that are the anti-Trump Republicans?
The Log Cabin Republicans are the gay Republicans.
Right. It's the Lincoln Project. That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
They're the they're the Never Trump Republicans.
Right.
So I think he was instrumental in starting the Lincoln Project.
I mean, listen, I'm looking at George Conway. I'm looking at Kellyanne Conway, and I think George made a mistake.
Yeah, look.
He was definitely batting outside his weight class. No
he
pun
was
intended.
majorly batting outside of his weight class.
Right.
So
that was a mistake. It was a mistake, George. Instant Sacks for 13 months. Thanks so much. Says, I love Trump. I never know if he's going to do something super based or incredibly dumb. Add some real excitement to the morning news. That is true.
Yeah, that's what people love about it.
Ryan Wool for $10 says, have you guys looked at the recent resignations happening in the Canadian government? Would be a good reason to get Dev on to have a Canadian citizen. Also, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? To answer the last one backwards, Die Hard is in fact a Christmas movie, obviously.
Nice.
I don't know anything about the Canadian government or anyone leaving. And even though I like talking to Dev, I don't know if I give a shit about anything happening in the Canadian government. So I don't know if I'd want to have him talk about that.
Well, Trudeau is like a big personality there. And is he resigning? I thought I saw something that he might be resigning.
I heard that he's probably not going to be prime minister anymore.
Okay.
Which is good. Electro for $10 says, remember, guys, if you're working in someone else's backyard and you knock on the door to see if dogs are inside, wait 5 minutes because there might be another dog. P.S. It's not fun to be chased. That's true.
Well,
it's funny.
Advice.
Like at my old house, there was one of like the power transformers was in the backyard. That was for like the neighborhood, or access to it, I should say. It's technically not on the property. And there would be like these people that come up, they knock, and they're like, oh, work for the power company. Is there a dog? And I'd be like, no, there's no dog. You can go back there. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, there's no dog. Why would I lie? What do you mean? There's no dog. And some people just ask like 5 or 10 times. I'm like, there's no dog there. It's fine.
There's no dog.
I'm positive if there's a dog, I don't know about it, right? Like there's no dog back there.
You're like, hold on, let me go check.
Yeah, like, there's no dog. There's a tiger, right? Like,
Oh, I forgot I bought a pit bull. Never mind.
Right. But I get it. If you're, working one of those jobs and some dog chasing you, that's scary. So I get it. But Filthy Casual for $10 says, did you guys see the Destiny clip where he says he hates the middle class and is belittling and strawman their financial issues? Please watch it. I have not seen that.
Yeah, that's horrible.
That sounds crazy. Send it to me on Twitter or something. Fondue for $5 says, any goodwill from Destiny was burned by leftists trying to cancel him for Fuentes to then be played for his effort. I think that was a heel turn. Oh, maybe. That could make sense.
Oh, so the leftists, I guess Mr. Earl got super upset with the Nick Fuentes stuff. I mean, we covered the Nick Fuentes stuff, and I thought Destiny did a good job of confronting Nick Fuentes.
Right.
So, yeah.
That is true. Sell for $2 says, did you see Actual Fandom recently made a video calling your comic a scam because it's late? That being said, where's my comic? Just kidding. He also paused comments and there's barely any arguing against him. Yeah, we talked about this on Sunday. It was kind of hilarious and ridiculous because obviously the comic is being printed right now.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Still do not have the copies, but I should any day now. So
Right.
they're shipping them over. So
It is funny that actual fandom and whatever the other guy's name is, escapes me at the moment, are weirdly obsessed with us. It is funny and strange. It's a little endearing and it's a little creepy at the same time.
well, look, we could respond to the live stream. They say a bunch of just crazy, unhinged stuff that is not even remotely true. So they have a weird. It's so weird. People get a stereotype in their head and they run with it. Like they
Right.
literally think we are like Nick Fuentes. It's like bizarre.
Right.
Yeah, completely bizarre. So
Okay. Maybe we will. That sounds interesting. I didn't actually watch it. I saw that it happened, but I didn't actually watch it.
look, and it's not very long. They go over the tweet that I put out.
Right.
Yeah. So I just.
Oh wait,
it's
so they had
weird.
no, because they had the stream and then you tweet about it and then they had
They
a follow up.
changed. No, they
or is it the
changed
same
the name of
stream?
they changed the name of the stream,
Mm-hmm.
but they did briefly because people were like, "Hey, I thought you were going after these guys." So it was like, well, someone sent me this tweet that actually they're getting their comic printed. So it seemed a little premature to like go after us. Like,
Well,
but
there you
they
go.
did go after us a little bit.
Right.
And they
That's
said
funny.
this was the funniest thing. They said the reason why it took us so long was because we launched the comic and made all this money and we didn't even have a story. We hadn't even written a story.
Mhm.
I mean, that's complete nonsense.
No, it took so long because you painstakingly drawing.
Yeah, did everything. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, we did for like I look, I can do other things and make money doing art. So
Right.
I didn't want to do a huge comic and make like, $2 an hour. Right.
Right.
So we put an obnoxiously high threshold to even do the comic. So, I mean, it took us like 6 months even to make the amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
the minimum amount of money that we wanted to make. So,
Yeah.
and then we were trying to get other artists involved and stuff like that. And then finally I just was like, okay, I just got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember because I mean I do remember spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours going over writing script, going over the storyboard with you,
Yeah. What the
calls,
fuck?
drawing the little story. You can, maybe we'll show everyone my terrible stick figures for me drawing the storyboard.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was all done before the project launched at all, or was that done when the project was going? I don't remember exactly the time.
All of that stuff was done after the project made enough money that we were like, okay, we're actually going to do this.
Right.
Like we wrote out a story because we were like, okay, well, we don't want to do it unless we have a good story. We figured writing the story, we're going to have fun writing it anyway, even if nothing becomes of it. Right. So,
Right.
so we did all that. Then we did some promo stuff and then we launched the campaign.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, wait. We must have done all that stuff before we launched the campaign because that's, you had the sample pages. So we must have had this. No, we did this. We had the story before we ever launched the campaign. We didn't have the full storyboard. That was after.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Because you had the sample pages when we launched the campaign. So we already had the story worked out by then.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. Well, obviously they're wrong about everything. So no surprise there. Saw for $2 says more important than who heads FBI is who heads the DOJ, since federal charges can only be filed by prosecutors, not FBI agents. Kinzinger says he's not afraid of revenge because it would be obvious if there's no evidence. Well, we'll see. I mean, I think people have more faith in Pam Bondi than Kash Patel or obviously than Matt Gaetz. So I guess we'll see what happens with Pam here. Solid for $2 says Luigi being rich is part of his appeal. They love rich class traders and hate poor or working class traders, which is how they see someone who climbs the ladder like the CEO. Same with McDonald's employee. That's a good point. That is a good point. I think it's because a lot of them are upper middle class, pampered, privileged individuals who view themselves in that same light. So, or maybe they want to be in that same light. They want to have the benefits of being rich without the negatives of the guilt.
Right.
Solid for 2 hours says, why not have time permanently be half hour in between daylight savings and standard time? Year-long daylight savings could get dark in the morning and make it dangerous for kids who walk to the bus stop. I mean, listen, it's got to be like a clean hour. Can't do a half hour. That's madness. Half an hour? Come on. It's got to be 1 hour. But also, it'd have to be 1 hour because you got to be synced up with the rest of the world. You could be off by like an hour. I don't like being off by half an hour would be really fucking confusing unless the whole world, agreed to the same time. So that would be bad.
Maj says a 28-page comic alone can sap your soul. I bet Adam put a lot of detail in stuff he shouldn't have.
You are 100% correct.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yes.
Look, and Sitch was giving me a hard time about that the whole time, but
yes.
Look, I didn't, this is the thing. Like, I didn't know if I'd have another opportunity to do another one. So I wanted it to be something I was proud of myself. So, and it's interesting now working digitally. I guess there's kind of like a detail restraint when you're working, with pen and paper, right? Because you can't make the pens like infinitely small, but you can actually do that with digital. So
right.
And I think we tried to pack a lot of story into 48 pages. So I do think our panel count per page is higher than most of these books.
And
That's I'll like Sitch and I, and you don't know this because like we kind of went into this thing blind, but crowd scenes are like, those are fucking work. Crowd scenes are work, and we just went crazy with crowd scenes.
Should not have
like,
done crowd scenes.
There's so many fucking crowd scenes, and I'm just thinking, oh my God. Yeah. It's not really a good way to do like our backgrounds are probably way more detailed than they should be. So
yes, that is completely true.
But look, I like it. Sitch and I have both read it like as a story with the artwork, and I think it's fucking great.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Holstein for $2 says, as someone who is pro-American and meh to negative about Trump whenever he does these oversteps, I'm happy because it's another chance for our system to demonstrate its robustness. So
what was that?
Yes.
We'll give the cliff notes on that one. I was half paying attention because I haven't.
They said they're happy whenever Trump does some stupid shit because it shows the system
works. Okay, I thought that's what
against,
they were saying. Yeah.
Him or a president. Yeah.
No, come on, that's not good for anyone. My Dumb Movies says, I remember Adam learning how to draw proper speed lines for about 4 months.
Yeah,
the art looked amazing. Good job. Yeah, look, that's another thing too. Like there's one, what do they call the thing that they swing around? It's like a mace or
a ball and chain?
Like a ball with spikes on it,
a ball and chain.
Yeah. Is that what it's called? Okay. Yes. So there's one panel where they like swing those around and shit. And I'm just fucking forever. I'm like, how do you, I love, oh fuck.
Look, I'm such an asshole. I'm over here writing the script out and storyboard. I don't have to draw any of this shit. So I had to take no consideration for any of the things I'm writing.
Well, look,
I'm just like, here you go, Adam. There's a million crowd panels. Like, deal with it.
Ultimately, look, and we had some good artists involved. And I mean, just there's like a ton of work is actually coloring. And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking pay an artist and then color their work. I'm not going to like downgrade myself to fucking colorist on my own book. So that was like a breaking point. I'm like, if I'm going to have to color, I might as well just fucking draw the thing. So there was a lot of different things that we encountered like that, but like I fucking love speed lines. What is the manga?
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man. Okay, yeah. That guy knows his fucking speed lines, dude. He is like epic.
He's the master,
the champion. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I'm like, I want to learn how how to deconstruct how he actually does this, and it's so amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough because a lot of the stuff in One Punch Man, I mean, it's really amazing in black and white, and I don't think color adds a lot to it. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's a tough
That's
nut to crack
a
too.
tough thing too, because a lot of the speed lines look as amazing as they do in black and white.
Yeah,
They don't look as good in color.
in color, yeah.
Because there are people that go and they'll color the One Punch Man panels, and some of them look great. Some of them you're like, it actually loses motion in color. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
harder to see the speed lines as clearly.
Look, that's another thing. These fucking a-holes, these actual fandom fucking losers,
Mhm.
they mentioned that I asked about if we could do the second one in black and white. And they're like, oh, look, they're already trying to save money here, already trying to fucking sack it to when the like, I'm thinking, no, I'm not. It's not about the money. It's about getting it out in less time.
Right.
Right.
It's about the time. Yeah. It's not about the
And
money.
it's about the look of it. Like if you spend a year drawing a comic and then you spend another year coloring it and it looks worse than the fucking first year
Right.
you did drawing it, what the fuck are you doing? You're completely wasting your time. So,
well, it's funny because I mean, if you recall, we had this conversation. I think we had it even on stream. I was like, "Oh, coloring takes you like a lot of time," and you're like, "No, Sitch, coloring I could do that like real quick." I'm like, "Okay, we'll see."
well, no, now I'm kind of, I know a lot of the tricks that I didn't really
Right.
know before. Like I would draw stuff in color. So I have panels that I did like in color and I'm like, something's off here. This doesn't look great. Then when I started drawing panels just in black and white and then coloring after the fact, like there's all of these tools that they have to color stuff that I didn't really know about or know how to use.
Oh, okay. Right,
So like if we did a second book, I think I could do it much faster because now I kind of have I do a layer with the perspective on it. So you've got a clean layer that you know where the perspective is for anything. So you drop backgrounds and you drop foreground characters and you can always reference that perspective layer. Doing everything in black and white. You know, anyone who's an artist knows you kind of follow your instinct a lot of times. You know, I'm listening to a book or something. I'm focused on the book. I'm not really paying attention. I'm just kind of on autopilot. And I'm like, oh, look, I did this whole panel and I was supposed to do it in black and white first, right? So you're like, okay, well, let me put it to black and white. You're like, oh my God, this is fucking shit. You're basically like starting over from square one. So,
right.
yeah. Look, and just even the lettering. So like Sitch and I did the entire thing in thumbnails is what they call them, our little stick figure stuff, right? So we're kind of getting a feel for where the page turns are going to be. A lot of times the only thing you have for like a surprise is like a page turn. You turn the page and you see something you weren't expecting. So you're trying to map all that stuff out. So I'm like, I'll just letter the whole book because we wrote it out, right? I might as well. I've got all the dialogue and I want to know where the dialogue bubbles are going to be because I don't want to focus a lot of time and energy drawing something. Sitch has this habit of writing fucking novels. So you've done this amazing panel of artwork, right? And you're like, oh, look, I can barely see his eyes because all the fucking bubbles
I just
are
wrote
over
a
him. Yeah.
novel to put over the panel. Yeah.
So it seemed smart to do all the lettering ahead of time. So it's like, where I don't have a lot of room here. So I'm just going to focus on that area of it. But then, so I letter it in Photoshop and I discover Clip Studio is the one that everyone uses. So I start using Clip Studio and now I got to re-letter it. Well, I'm going to print and the Clip Studio doesn't even export the lettering files right for the printer. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to fucking re-letter this book again just to have the right lettering. Yeah. It's like all this bullshit. Yeah, exactly. So I end up lettering the book like 3 or 4 times just to get it right.
All right. Well, you guys will all see the finished product soon. Hulk for $2 says, every time a leftist brings up January 6th, I say, quote, it was wrong and our system stopped him. If you had your revolution, all those checks and balances would go away along with our government. I've watched them stop and think. Interesting. Fondue for $5 says, would Adam go a more Junji Ito level detail if you go black and white?
I don't know what that is. Is that just like hyper detail?
Junji Ito is like a very famous horror Japanese artist who drew all these horror comics, and they'd be very intricately detailed in black and white. So,
I mean, I got to admit, I do like a lot of detail. So, yeah, I'd be down to do lots of detail. I mean, there's lots of detail in this book. So,
Christian Ball for $5 says, Sammy, tell Sitch to read the manga H. Ore no Imoto ga Sai Kono Okazudata. I think it would be right up his alley. What does this translate into? Okay. This is the plot synopsis for this thing that you told me to read. Miyu, my own sister, catches me masturbating to my favorite sister erotic game.
oh my God, fucking don't read that. Are you kidding me? Like, what?
I don't think I'm going to be reading that one, but thank you, Christian.
Can you imagine
Rex?
walking in on your sister and she's masturbating to something of you? You'd be like fucking mortified.
I mean, how hot is your? I mean, yes, you'd be mortified, of course, of course. Rex Vectum.
I said your sister, Sitch. You don't have a sister, but
I don't have a sister.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a hypothetical.
What if you walked in on your brother and your brother was masturbating to a picture
that's
of you?
obviously gross. Yeah.
Okay, now you get it.
Right. Rex Vectum for $5 says, I like how Adam has now done an eye reveal since Sitch refuses to do a face reveal. He's truly a man of the people. Right.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
look,
you guys have seen Adam's eyes. He didn't always have the shades all the time.
I guess people do like the filter. I remember the first time Anna came on, and I'm thinking, look, this is very serious. I'm doing an interview with Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks, and she's like, oh, you're not wearing your sunglasses.
Yeah, what's wrong? I'm used to them. Yeah.
I guess it is just internet culture, so
right.
I don't know. Sometimes just to mix it up a bit.
Right.
We're covering the news, okay?
Our Hiltert, hey, what's up? For $2 says, Sitch, have you seen this cringe? And he sent me this DM. I did see this. I don't know. Maybe we'll play this tomorrow. Did you see this? This just really rubbed me the wrong way. It was Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was on a Broadway play.
I saw that.
Oh my God.
So
I
that
saw this.
rubbed you the wrong way?
It really did.
Why?
It really did. Well, we'll talk about it tomorrow, maybe. I saw that. I was kind of mad. I was like, I'm more mad than I should be about this cringe. But yeah, it was super cringe, super ridiculous.
Why were you mad about it?
Actually, for $5
she's living her dream.
Oh no, fuck
and
that.
It's not being a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, I was gonna say your job's a fucking Supreme Court justice. What the fuck? You're not a fucking Broadway play. Get the fuck out of here. Or Broadway actor. What the fuck? Actually, for $5 says, if Adam isn't a piece of corn, he better have shades.
I did pull up the corn for a little bit. So
nice.
It's so weird. I can't tell if they're trolling me or not.
Right.
I can't tell if they actually like it and are entertained by it, or just are entertained by how cringe it is. Like they're like, look, we're getting Adam to do this totally cringy thing.
They're entertained at you looking super cringe. Yeah,
I know it is. They're laughing at me, aren't they, Sitch? They're not laughing with me. They're laughing at me.
Anyways, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for your generous donations, and we'll see you tomorrow either on this channel, or if we're not streaming on this channel at 2 Eastern. You should check out Death of a Franchise channel. We'll be talking about Red One.
Yeah, should be great.
Yes.
Oh shit, we got another super
Filthy
chat.
Casual $5 says, I sent a Destiny clip from Bird Spawn on Twitter. Google makes me bleep my name. I don't know why. Well, check it out, but thank you.
All right, thanks. Take care, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go.